It's time for Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. For the next 3 hours, it's high school basketball from across the Mountain State. Live from Marshall University, here's your host, Ryan Epling.
It's the second day of January of 2015. It's the first Basketball Friday Night of the new year. Welcome into Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, along with James Collier, Rick Marone. We're with you from now until midnight across the Fast Break Sports Network. Of course, you can visit us online, basketballnight.com. You can talk with us on Twitter at hoops_roundup. Even though it's just the day after New Year's, plenty of games to talk about this evening and a lot of games to talk about that took place throughout the course of the past week as well. As guys, I got to tell you, this is one of the more exciting shows to me of the year because, quite frankly, when you begin the new year, James, things start to get a little more serious. And you go from the feeling out process to starting to refine your team into what you want it to be over the next 2 months.
Well, you get out of the tournament phase, the kind of the preseason classics, you will, and we start to go into start of conference and sectional plays. And that's something, as you mentioned, trying to fill out what you have. You're now somewhere between 8 to 10 games in, and Rick, you know this as well as the coaching side. You know what you have, you know where you can go. Now it's time to put that in motion and make it count as you start into that second part of the season.
Well, the second part of the season, James, a lot of that comes down to conference part of the season, and a lot of teams have had their holiday tournaments. They've had this time off. I think the time that you've had where you don't have class and you can really focus on basketball is when a lot of the work gets done. I know a lot of teams really kick it into high gear. I feel the same way as you, Ryan. I think this is when things really get exciting. There's some great matchups tonight, some great games this week, and some great ones tomorrow. So it is a virtual smorgasbord of basketball as far as high school goes.
And this is the time of season where you can start to focus a little bit. You can kind of get those extra voices out of your head a little bit that come in during the course of the day, during school time. And really your focus is basketball. It's basketball-centric right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, from a coaching standpoint and players, it's the best time of the season. You really don't have a lot of distractions. You can really look at what do you need to try and move forward. And you have time to really put the time in because a lot of times, James, there's things that you might know, hey, we need to tweak a little bit. But when you're playing a game and have a day or two to prep and then you're playing a game, it's all really about game preparation. And when you're talking about fundamentals or style changes or execution, to put the time in, this is when you got to get it done, and then it's off to the races.
Well, and another thing that you pick up on this time of year, especially on some of the tournaments that just finished up at the turn of the new year, you play 2 and 3 days back-to-back. And it kind of gives you an idea of what you're going to expect when you head to Charleston if you get to that point, and especially some of these coaches that the expectations are truly, we're going to go to Charleston or we're going to go back to Charleston. This is a great time to see how your team reacts playing 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, maybe 4 days in a row, depending on the tournament you have. You see how much legs you have. You see how depth really reacts to whether some of those players, maybe they're the 7th, the 8th person off the bench, how they respond when they have to be the number 1 off the bench. And as you said, it's time to really put aside the filling out period. You know what you've got now. The foundation has been built. Now it's time to go play basketball and get ready for that push into February and start into March.
Well, we're into the point of the evening where several games have gone final. There are some other games that are coming right down the stretch. I'll tell you one game right now that's going right down the stretch. Scott and Chapmanville Regional playing right now. Of course, we hope to hear a little bit later on from Chris Kidd, WVOW, but that game going right down to the wire. But before we talk about any one game in particular, James, you have our first check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Looking for scores? Look no more. Go to basketballnight.com/scoreboard for all your scores from around the Mountain State. We start first on the boys' side in Class AAA. Number 8 and number 3 in a barn burner. 40 seconds left in the contest, and Woodrow Wilson up on number 3 Hurricane, 67-66. We'll keep you abreast on that game if it goes final before we finish up the scoreboard update. At the half, number 10 Martinsburg leading number 4 Washington, 34-21. It is a final. Shady Springs knocks off Lewis County 53-46. Winfield, a 12-point win over Princeton, 62-50. In Class AA, the Dots, number 2 in Class AA, no trouble with the Grizzlies out of Nicholas County. 79-32. We'll hear from Coach Alan Osborne later on in the show. At the end of the third, number 8, Chapmanville, number 10, Scott. The Skyhawks trail the Tigers by 1, 39-38. 8 minutes remaining in that contest. Sissonville, a 16-point win over at Herbert Hoover, 68-52. Rich Skeen will join us in the 10 o'clock hour. Summers County winners over James Monroe. Matt Ryan dumps in 25 in the losing effort. Andrew Richmond has 21. In Class Single A, Gil St. Bernard Knights out of New Jersey pushes easily past the number 1 team in Class Single A, the Wheeling Central Maroon Knights, 72-47 in the Cancer Research Classic. It was number 5, Greater Beckley Christian, all over the Man Hillbillies, 96-52. And one more final. Wahama knocks off Doddridge County in the Doddridge County New Year's Tournament, 56-53. A few scores to check on the girls' side. Class AAA, number 1 Park South flexing its muscle over the Big Reds of Parkersburg, 72-40. In Class AA, only one score so far. Number 5 Kaiser over Mountain Ridge Miners out of Maryland, 27-21 at the half. Lexi Taylor has 20. And one score in Class Single A. Tug Valley falls to Cross Lanes Christian, 44-19. That game a final. And real quick, let's go back and check that game in Class Single A. It's a final. Woodrow Wilson knocks off number 3 Hurricane, 69-66. Brent Osborne dumps in 15. JT Rogaszewski has 28 in the losing effort.
Thank you very much, James. And boy, Woodrow Wilson Hurricane right down to the wire, as we talked about. That was a 1-point game with under 30 seconds left, and Woodrow Wilson able to escape with the win. Kind of a slow start for Hurricane this year after a big finish last year. A lot of players back, but that was a team that kind of caught fire and played its best basketball in March. And Coach Marone, I'll give you a chance to recover from the little cough there, but sometimes when you play really well at the end of the season, such as Hurricane did last year, even with a lot of players back, that doesn't mean immediate success when you come back the following year.
Well, it doesn't mean immediate success, and also you have a target on you too. I mean, Hurricane had a magical run. I mean, they took it right to the limit, almost pulled off one of the great tournament runs, I think, in recent memory. But sometimes you're back, you're trying to get things going again the next year, and you're trying to fit together the pieces. They do have several players back. They've got guys that are winners. They've got baseball champions. They've got all kinds of, I guess you could call tradition there at Hurricane. But, again, you're not going to sneak up on people. They are ranked number 3. Woodrow Wilson, to me, they've always scheduled Woodrow Wilson, and I think it's smart, but if you look at their schedule over the last 10 to 15 years, they start late, they get a lot of work in early, and, boy, they get better. They play a lot of games. James mentioned earlier teams that like to play those back-to-backs. They're on the road playing those tough environments. Woodrow Wilson is the carbon copy for that, and I think tonight you see Woodrow Wilson, the calendar has turned, and it's Flying Eagle time and a big win for them at Hurricane.
Well, and don't forget last year that Hurricane run was almost knocked short in the sectionals. It was a nasty showdown between Hurricane and Spring Valley, and one of those two teams went home. It was Spring Valley, and then Hurricane makes a run all the way into the state finals, and that triple overtime matchup over Hedgesville in the semis, and then the showdown with Huntington. What a great game that was! But again, this is something that you see teams start to make that separation. This is where, like Rick, you said, teams know what they have now. Now it's time to start the separation. And as you start putting 8, 10, 12 games on the schedule, that's when you find out who the cream of the crop is and who kind of the posers are around each of the classes.
Well, I think posers is a good word because that early part of the season, we've had our poll question, do you schedule the cupcakes, as they say, or do you go to war every night? And coaches take different approach. Lance Sutherland of Hurricane was on our program and was very upfront. He wants the best competition possible because when he gets into the MSAC, he knows that it's going to be a tough fight every night. Had a tough fight tonight, come up a little short, but I think they can be better for it in the long run. It's a 3-point loss for Hurricane, but something you can build off of.
So, again, a lot of big games there going on tonight. And one of those games throughout the course of the evening. Poca was a big winner over Nicholas County, 79-32 in boys basketball. The Dots off to an outstanding start this year, and head coach Alan Osborne is with us now. And Coach Osborne, thanks for joining us on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, and your team off to a fantastic start to this campaign this year.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And yeah, we're really pleased with our effort tonight. Got a lot of players some playing time, and we're very efficient on both ends of the court. And we're just trying to look forward to our next game. Got Scott coming to our place on Tuesday, and they beat Chattanooga tonight, so that'll be a real tough game for us.
Cardinal Conference games are always interesting, and your team's kind of taken things to the next level within conference play here over the past couple of years. But let's talk about just coming back through how you've got to where you are right now at 6-0. One of those wins was a team we talked about here just a moment ago, Hurricane. You had a 15-point win over your county rival, and that was a big win. You also had a 27-point win over Robert C. Byrd earlier this year. And I know as a coach, sometimes perhaps you may be concerned about it, but how do you keep your kids from falling in that trap of things have been pretty easy so far, and we've played some of the teams who were considered the better ones on our schedule already?
Well, I'd say very fortunate. Got a great bunch of kids to coach. They're level-headed and they're very focused right now, and they've been able to stay humble and they're playing together. And every day we just try to give them something to work on to get better. And it's just we're just very blessed. Got a great bunch of kids, like I said. They're good kids on and off the court. Got a 3.8 GPA average for in the classroom, or leaders in the school. And we got good kids. Things are just a little bit easier.
Coach, when you talk about this time of the season, you're pretty much out of the kind of the filling out stage. You know what you pretty much have on the bench, on the floor. Is now the time that you start making those preparations for the run into February and then obviously that trip to Charleston in March?
Well, yeah, we're trying to develop some depth, and tonight our sixth man was out with the flu, and then we got Austin Henry, our seventh man, hurt his knee tonight. We're hoping to get him back, but we don't know. So that's one of our main issues, is developing some depth right now. But right now we're just trying to get better. We got, like I say, next week we've got Scott coming to our place in Chapmanville. We got some really difficult games left, and we just got to stay focused and try to get better. And like I say, you just can't take things for granted. You don't know. Last year we lost Jacob Payne with a broken foot, and we lost our starting point guard in February with a torn ACL. So we're just trying to emphasize our guys got to stay ready, be ready to be the next man up. That's one of the key things we've been working on this year.
And Coach, your ball club is young again. A team last year that two freshmen really kind of stood out on. They're sophomores now, and you've still only got three seniors on this ball club, but you've got a pretty good mix of kids too. Just talk to me about what maybe they were able to learn from the state tournament a year ago. Very tough loss to Bluefield. Foul trouble seemed to really get you there. Maybe that's something that you can't necessarily always be extremely prepared for, is to be in foul trouble, and that allowed Bluefield to kind of get out of there with a win, I thought, last year.
Well, last year the thing we were trying to take from that, foul trouble is part of the game, but in the state tournament game against Bluefield last year, it was a 5-point game with 57 seconds left to go in the third quarter, and they went on a 7-0 run. We made three big mistakes that were crucial, and that's what we've tried to talk to our kids about, how important every possession is of a game. And just whether it's a state tournament game or regular season game, every possession is important. And in 50 seconds, we went from a 5-point game to a 12-point game, and that was basically we lost any chance to probably win that game at that particular time. And one was a bad shot and two turnovers, and we lost our composure and our poise. And you got to give Bluefield credit because they did what they had to do to win. And So that's what we've taken away from that game. Basically, is that you got to play every possession. You got to be thankful for an opportunity you have and take advantage of it, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, Coach, your ball club and program over the years, you've had a few guys that have been Division I players. You've got some guys who are getting some attention right now. Is that an issue where perhaps you are concerned about focus with them, or are they handling that just as fantastic as you would hope they would?
Well, right now they're great. It's just like tonight we had 4 guys in double figures again. We're averaging 18 assists a game. They're playing very unselfish, playing together, and college coaches they want to see guys play within the system that they're playing under in high school. They know what they can do and what they can't do. They don't need to put big scoring numbers up. They need to play basketball, play within our system, and do what you're supposed to do. And that's what we emphasize with them. And so I'm really pleased with the way they've handled them, especially for as young as they are. Elijah and Luke are just sophomores, and they've been offered Marshall and James Madison and Liberty and Longwood, and are getting some looks from other Division I schools. And we've got Noah Frampton, who's a senior, who's getting looks. And so they've handled things really well and put the team first, just like they've done for the last couple of years. And as long as we continue to do that, we're going to be okay.
Hey, Coach Marone here. Thanks for coming on the show. One question I had, Coach, and again, you have a lot of experience working with different combinations of kid, but as Ryan mentioned, you've got some young players that really do garner a lot of attention. But what I've been most impressed with is your older kids have really, it's a true team, that you have. And is that a process, or were they right from the get-go able to kind of integrate those freshmen last year who are now sophomores that have really stepped to the forefront? Because when you're a junior and senior, sometimes to be a little bit more of a role player is not easy to do. So I was just curious how that dynamic played out. Have they just fit into their roles as they've seen them fit?
Well, our guys have really bought in, and you're a coach, you know how important that is. And last year we had Cam Cottrell's a senior, Jacob Payne were seniors, Noah Randolph. But Cam Cottrell last year's a senior. He's not on this year's team, but we use him as an example. His junior year, he was all-conference, second-team All-State, and our second leading scorer. And last year, he sacrificed for the team. He didn't care if he scored. He didn't do he just wanted to win. And I think it's really carried over with this team. These guys just want to win, and they bought into what we're trying to do. And they get along well. They on and off the court, and it's very fortunate to have a group of kids like this. Sometimes it's like a fairy tale. I got to pinch myself. They're just good kids. I'm serious. It's just
Well, Coach Osborne,
we haven't had a kid have D-Hall for 2 years. Like I said, they're good. They're leaders in the school, and it's just an amazing bunch of young men. They really are. That speaks volumes for their family.
Well, Coach, I've been fortunate to get to see your team play several times over the past 10, 15 years, and always one of the better coach teams that I've seen in person. And certainly congratulations on a good start, and wish you the best of luck. You got Scott coming up at home Tuesday and Chapmanville Regional coming up at home on Friday, so another big week ahead for the Dots.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you having me on, and thank you for those compliments.
All right, that's Coach Alan Osborne of the Polka Dots as they get the win tonight over Nicholas County. Right now, we're going to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll talk with Wes McKinney about the Princeton-Winfield boys game. We'll have that and much more as basketball Friday night in West Virginia rolls on here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them, check us out at basketballnight.com. Many places you can listen and watch Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. That includes 106.7 FM WHFI in Linside, 101.9 FM WVOW Logan, 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM WQAZ LP Edmond, Beckley, 101.7 FM WYAP LP in Clay, and 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington. We're also on cable. Armstrong Cable Digital Channel 204, Comcast Channel 25. Online videos available at basketballnight.com and rsnsports.com. And you can listen online. Go to basketballnight.com and click on Listen Live. Congratulations to Clay County Panthers' Gavin Nichols. Gavin was selected as the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week last week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Do you have an athlete that made an outstanding play? Nominate them for Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a standout athlete of the week. Go to basketballnight.com/standout athlete. Fill out the online form with your nomination. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State, you're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, James Collier, Rudy Raines, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
9:21 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Coach Rick Marone, and James Collier with you. Phone lines are already starting to back up, guys, here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. 1-855-345-4709 is the number. Before we talk with Wes McKinney, we'll also talk with St. Albans girls coach Scott James here in just a moment, too. But before we talk with those guys, I want to put out a call to our Twitter followers. Spread the word. We're 21 away from 1,100 at hoops_roundup. Our goal is to get to 1,100 by the end of the night.
It's hard to say we're trying for 1,100. It seemed like we were just saying, hey, 1,000's where we're headed. But we talked about that. We want to get to 1,500 by the time that the program finishes out season number 2, and obviously we'll adjust that if we get to that point. But it's all because of the almost 1080 that we've gotten so far. So definitely go on there, follow us, and we'll give you a shout out.
Well, the final scores tonight was Winfield beating Princeton in boys basketball 62-50. Wes McKinney was at that game, and Wes, a big win for Winfield and a tough loss for Princeton in that ball game tonight.
Yeah, Ryan, you talk about a crushing blow for Princeton. I said on the pregame that I thought these next 3 games were an important stretch for Princeton as they have had Winfield tonight. They come home next week for Nitro, and then they go on the road to Cabell Midland before they start a tougher 3-game stretch of Huntington, Hurricane, and Spring Valley. And I thought that Princeton needed to get a win tonight to get going in the right direction here. They was coming in 1-2 tonight with losses to South Charleston and Bluefield, so there's no shame in losing to those teams. And then they won an overtime game against Shady Spring to open the season. And I thought that Princeton, early on, they showed a lot of energy, and then Bear Bellamy for the Generals really got going early in the second half and took a lot out of Princeton, and they just never really recovered. Early in the third quarter, I think they were down by 14 at halftime, and before you blink twice there in the third quarter, Winfield was up by almost 20, and it just really took a lot out of Princeton. I think they did end up cutting it to a dozen early in the fourth quarter, but then what I thought was the turning point of the game, Princeton cuts it to a dozen. They score the first 5 points of the fourth quarter, and then Bellamy comes down and just nails a 3 right in front of the Princeton defense, and I just thought that was really what took it out of Princeton tonight. But Princeton, they've got to rebound, and they've got to find a way to beat Nitro on Tuesday night at home, or else this could get out of hand real quick.
And there are not a lot of forgiveness in an MSAC schedule. Your team, Princeton now 1-3, and you talk about that ball club too, as you get to see them night in, night out. But Nitro, I mean, that's a ball club that we didn't get to talk about last week. They had a player go off for 47 points in a game a week and a half ago. So they might not be a name brand right now, but that team can fill it up too.
Yeah, I think that Princeton found out last year what Nitro can do and how fast they can score. I know that last year in the regular season, Princeton beats them at Nitro, and then Princeton has to go right back out there. I think it was like 8 days later or something like that, and play Nitro in the MSAC game. And Princeton had a double-digit lead with 3 or 4 minutes left to go, and they let it slip away, and they end up losing by like 5 or so because they just couldn't guard the perimeter. So I think Princeton really needs to be on guard heading into next week.
Well, Wes, we always appreciate hearing from you, and look forward to hearing from you again next week.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, that's Wes McKinney. He had the call of Princeton's 12-point loss tonight to the Winfield Generals. We're going to move right along and go right into Eric Little, V96.9 radio in Parkersburg. He had the Parkersburg South Parkersburg game tonight and a win tonight for the Patriots, Eric.
Yeah, it's been a pretty big week for Parkersburg South. Parkersburg South and Parkersburg on the boys' side met for the first time this season on Tuesday, and the Patriots pulled a 3 out at the final moments to pick up a 3-point win there. And then tonight, Parkersburg South rolls, and the girls get in the win column against PHS as well with a 72-40 win. Parkersburg South had 10 different scores tonight, and that's what really was able to put them over the top. The way they were able to share the basketball, 2 of the 5 starters were in foul trouble early and had to be on the bench for much of the first half. And in addition to that, a 3rd starter has missed since Parkersburg South's tournament that was right before Christmas because she has a high ankle sprain. So really down 3 starters tonight. Parkersburg South had to look into that bench, and when they dig into the bench, they've been lucky to have the depth that's been able to fill those absences.
Well, I know Kia Bartlett's been unable to go a few times this year, but Taryn McCutcheon always still is Taryn McCutcheon, the Michigan State commit, and right now in her junior year. But Parkersburg South, I want to talk about this game for a moment. Earlier in the week, lost at South Charleston. That was a tough loss for Parkersburg South and the first in-state regular season loss in a couple of years for that ball club. Was South Charleston improved, or was that just an off night for the Patriots?
I didn't see that game, but I will say, because that's the night I think we had the boys game. But I will say this: the Patriots came into tonight playing 3 more games this season than the Big Reds had. So I think you go down to Myrtle Beach before Christmas and you play 5 games in about 6 days, 6 or 7 days, and you play some good competition at that tournament. That tends to wear you down, especially when you lose one of your best scorers. And Bartlett, in the second game of that tournament, they played, and I think in the first minute of that second game, so they played essentially that entire tournament without her, and they played since without Kia Bartlett. So you got McCutcheon that maybe feels a little bit more of the weight on her shoulders. Of course, she's more than capable of stepping up to that. She had 14 tonight. Caitlin Bird had 16, and Anna Hayton had 13. But it's a matter, I think, in that game of maybe a team that had run out of gas a little bit, or maybe a team that had such a run of tough opponents that eventually I think that's going to catch up with you as it does for most teams. And I would venture to say that's probably what happened for Parkersburg South. But the Patriots really rebounded and played well tonight in a game that they should have won and did control against Parkersburg High. 72-40, your final score tonight, as you guys said. And again, with 10 different players getting the scoring column, and one of them isn't one of your best players, that's not a bad deal.
No, and that's a Parkersburg team that only lost by 1 to Huntington earlier this year as well. So that's a team that's off to a pretty good start in its own right, and Parkersburg South handling them today. And before we let you go, I want to real quick talk about tomorrow, boys basketball game. Parkersburg South heads up to John Marshall, and all those games very important with the way the seeding is done for sectionals and regionals.
Yeah, not to mention the fact you're stepping back into the Two Rivers Athletic Conference, back into the UVAC. We actually had Mike Fallon, the boys head coach, on our broadcast tonight as a guest commentator. His daughter, Michaelin, scored 9 in the girls' game tonight. So it's always interesting when you're calling a game with somebody whose daughter's out on the floor, or son's out on the floor. But and he was saying the next few weeks of their season are going to be really interesting as they delve into those conference opponents, the Morgantowns, universities, Wheeling Parks. And two, the schedule is going to get more regular once we get back into January because, of course, over the holidays it's weird. Maybe you're playing on a Thursday, Saturday, or a Friday, Saturday, but here it starts to really stretch out more like a college schedule where you've got a midweek game and then a chance to get your legs back for a weekend game, a Friday or Saturday night. So for Parkersburg South, a chance to begin to get into some consistency and get into routine, and a business trip, if you will, against John Marshall, and a chance to really get off onto a good foot once the Two Rivers and OVAC season start in earnest.
Well, Eric Little, the voice of the Parkersburg South Patriots. Thanks for joining us tonight from V96.9, and we look forward to hearing from you hopefully every Friday night. We'll make this a routine.
Hey, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Eric Little. Thank you very much. That's Parkersburg South's girls get the win tonight over crosstown rival Parkersburg. Right now, we're going to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll get a scoreboard update. We'll also hear from St. Albans coach Scott James, the coach of the girls basketball team, the girls version of the Red Dragons, and we'll hear from Dave Morrison, 102.3 The Ticket down in Hinton, West Virginia, Summers County, and James Monroe. He had the call of that one tonight. We'll hear from those guys when we come back. You're on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Last week we asked you to vote. Are the new public address announcer rules good or bad? 100% of you agreed. They're bad. This week's poll question: what is a better usage of the holiday break? Learn on the fly by playing in tournaments, or develop the team through practices during the break. You've got until 11:45 tonight to vote in this week's poll. Go to basketballnight.com and you'll find this week's poll on the right-hand side of the page. We'll share the results of voting tonight at the end of the show. Check it out and vote in our poll at basketballnight.com. We now have 1,079 followers on Twitter, and we've got a challenge for you. We want to get to 1,100. Follow us on Twitter. We'll make sure to mention you on the show at @hoops_roundup. At @hoops_roundup. Send in your scores, give us a tweet, or become part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. It's all about basketball in West Virginia. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Once again, follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup. At @hoops_roundup. Our goal is to hit 1,100 followers. A shout out to some of our Twitter followers sending the scores tonight. J. Daniel Rawlings, thank you. Greater Beckley, Wesley McKinney, WVVV, Bill Camp, C. Wade 3, Fred Bursinger II, Justin Pritt, and WVOW.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to Basketball Night in West Virginia with James Collier, Rudy Raines, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
9:32 as we celebrate another Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia here on the Fast Break Sports Network. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, and James Collier with you. We've got callers lined up already. We'll talk with Scott James, the St. Albans Red Dragons. We'll talk with Dave Morrison, who had the call of Summers County's game tonight against James Monroe. But before we get to those gentlemen, and we appreciate them staying on hold, right now we're going to turn it over to Coach Rick Marone for a check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Looking for scores? Look no more. BasketballNight.com scoreboard update. First in Class AAA, an upset right off the bat. Woodrow Wilson, number 8, knocks off number 3 Hurricane, 69-66. Brent Osborne with 15 for Hurricane. JT Rogoszewski has 28. Martinsburg, 34. Washington, 21. That game at the half. This game final in AAA. Shady Spring, 53. Lewis County, the Minutemen come up a minute short. 53-46 for Shady Springs gets the win. Winfield, the Generals, 62. Princeton, 50. In Class AA, the Polka Dots, number 2, continue to roll. They roll Nicholas County 79-32. They had 4 players in double figures. In Class AA, Chapmanville falls to Scott. Number 8 falls to number 10. The Skyhawks, a big 55-51 win against the Tigers. Sissonville, 68. Herbert Hoover, 52. That's a final. Summers County gets a 74-60 win over James Monroe. Matt Ryan with 25. Andrew Richmond with 21. In Class A, Wheeling Central, the Maroon Knights fall to Gill St. Bernard's Knights out of Gladstone, New Jersey, 72-47. Wheeling Central, the #1 Class A team, falls that game at the Cancer Research Classic at Wheeling Jesuit. Also in Class A, the Man Hillbillies come up short against #5 Greater Beckley Christian, 96-52. Greater Beckley gets the win. Rumors abound about Coach Dave Barksdale maybe in a suit. We'll follow up with that later in the program. Tug Valley 42, Cross Lanes 31. That's a final. Also in Class A, Scott Sorrow's crew gets a 77-39 when Williamstown tops Tyler Consolidated. Wahama 56, Doddridge County 53. That's a final in boys basketball. Let's turn the page to the ladies in Class AAA. Parkersburg South, a big 72-40 win. Caitlin Bird with 16 points, 9 rebounds. Taryn McCutcheon, 14 points, 8 assists, and Anna Hayton, 13 points, 10 rebounds for the Lady Patriots. John Marshall, 58. Indian Creek out of Wintersville, Ohio, 53. At the half, Kaiser, the Golden Tornadoes of Josh Blow, 27. Mountain Ridge, 21. Lexi Taylor for Kaiser in the first half, 20 of 27 points for the #5 ranked Tornadoes. And also in girls basketball, Union 55, East Hardy 46. And a correction of a score earlier, Tug Valley actually gets a win against Cross Lanes Christian on the road, 42-31. That's your basketballnight.com scoreboard update.
Thank you very much, Coach Marone. We go back to the phone lines. The St. Albans Red Dragons girls basketball team off to a pretty good start. Now, we've had a tough time kind of following them because they made a trip down to Charleston, South Carolina to play. Scott James is the head coach. He joins us now. And, Coach, the last track we had of you were 4-1. The lone loss had come to Morgantown, but we didn't get anything on the last 2 games that you played down in Charleston, South Carolina. How you doing so far this year?
Well, overall now we're 5-2. We went down south and didn't know what to expect down at the Carolina Invitational down there, and we finished up 2-1 on the weekend, and we were pleased coming back to West Virginia down there 2-1 with a 5-2 overall record.
Coach Marone here. Thanks for coming on and thanks for holding. I told him you're the most patient guy in Kanawha County, and I appreciate you appreciate you coming on the show, Coach. You have never scheduling wise. This has been a debate on the program over the last couple of weeks. How you set up your schedule. You, of course, part of the MSAC. A lot of tough matchups in the MSAC, but out of conference, you have always took on some really big challenges in your out-of-conference schedule. So I kind of know the answer to this question, but when you look at scheduling, do you look at it more as kind of a building process early, or do you want to take on the best competition possible right from the get-go?
Well, everything we try to gear towards is the postseason, Rick, and we're going to take on the toughest competition that we can possibly play. And I know that Parkersburg South went down to the Beach Ball Classic, and that's a heck of a schedule. But I'll put our schedule up against anybody in the state. I think we play an extremely tough schedule. Outside of the conference, our 2 out-of-conference games were Morgantown and Greenbrier East, and then we picked up 3 games down in Charleston, South Carolina, beat Crockett High School out of Tennessee, got beat by Boone out of Kentucky, which is the school that Randy Moss's daughter went to. And then we beat a 4A team in Northwestern out of Rock Hill, South Carolina on Monday. And then our other 2 games out of conference are in the Big Atlantic, and we're not sure who we're going to play, but it's always tough competition.
Coach James Collier, with you talking about having the tough schedule, going out of state, not playing opponents that are here that can scout you, see what you're doing, how much does that allow you to try things that maybe you want to have available for those conference foes later on in the month of February, and especially making that trip into sectionals and regionals?
Well, James, that's a good point because, there was 2 or 3 things that we did try down there that we hadn't worked on, or we had worked on but had not shown in a game up to that point. And, we're still going to utilize them throughout the season, but like you said, it gives us an opportunity to do some things that we haven't done that some of the local teams might not be able to pick up on right off.
How important is it at this point of the year, too, to start to expand or shorten the bench as you find out really what you have available and start into conference play starting off in about a week from now?
Yeah, well, every coach's dream is to be able to expand that bench. The deeper you go, the better off you're going to be. We've been thrown in about 8, 9 deep up to this point, and right now we're going to stay right there around the 8 deep area. And we hope that we can even expand it to a 9th, 10th player. But again, as you coming into conference play, we got a heck of a schedule this week. We got Greenbrier East coming in Monday. We got South Charleston on Wednesday, and we go to Parkersburg on Friday. So, again, we're going to have to put our best foot forward, and our goal is to win when we're out there playing.
Coach, another question for you. You've been at this a while, much like myself, and the state of girls basketball, even just in the Kanawha Valley, and when you expand it even to your conference, MSAC, across classifications, we've discussed on the show that we just feel like that it is really the middle of a really great run of talent around the state. And I know you are someone that does a great job promoting girls basketball. You're involved in a lot of facets of it. I was wondering what your take is on that. The state of girls basketball and just the level of talent over the whole area really is something that's impressive in my opinion.
Oh, it's extremely strong. You know, if you look at last year and some of the best teams and the players that we had over the last 2 years, really, but last year specifically, most of those girls were underclassmen. And a lot of them are back this year, and still a lot of them are underclassmen. You've got defending state champion Morgantown has just about everybody but 1 or 2 back. South has everybody back. You've got Spring Valley that has everybody back. You have Logan that's loaded. You've just got a lot of great basketball, girls basketball in the state of West Virginia right now, and it's going to be there for 2 or 3 years to come, at least 2 to 3 years. And I'd like to know, and I'm not for sure, the number of D1 commits and prospects that we have in the state of West Virginia right now.
Yeah, we've had a hard time actually nailing that number down ourselves. We've been following that. I mean, they're all over. You talk about Tara McCutcheon, you talk about Hope Lester, Shayna Gore, Madison Morris, and that list just continues to grow as well. Coach, I know last year, this is the first time that we've got a chance to talk this year. Last year you were right on the cusp of a state tournament berth, but came up just a little bit short. How do you take that motivation through the offseason? I know we're already sort of into this year a little bit now at this point, but still able to learn from that because you had so many players back again this year, as you mentioned.
Yes, well, it's motivation for me. I know that. I still think about that ball game every single day. It just really tore me up. And Cabell Midland earned that victory. They outplayed us that day. But, you know, we talked to our players about, you know, when they're tired and they might want to take a break or they might not want to work hard or do this. I remember Cabell Midland cutting the nets down in our gym going to the state tournament last year. So we use that as motivation. And, you know, we had 4 starters coming back. Of course, our 2-year starting point guard moved up to Parkersburg with her dad. But we've got a pretty good freshman that came in to fill the void. So, you know, the girls have been working hard. But again, James, when they want to be a little bit lazy or feel sorry for themselves, we bring the fact up about Cabell Midland cutting the nets down in our gym last year.
Head coach Scott James of the St. Albans Red Dragons. Your team will be back in action. You got another so-so week of games here. Greenbrier East, South Charleston. Just another week.
Yeah, so weak, man. And I love it. I get so excited because it lets us know where we're at against the best teams in the state. So, you know, our girls are excited, and I hope they rise to the occasion, and we go out there and we bring our A game and we battle these teams this week.
Coach, we certainly wish you the best of luck.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all having us.
All right, that's head coach Scott James of St. Albans, and right now we are right up against the break. So, Dave Morrison, we're going to get to you in just a moment. We'll hear from Dave Morrison of 102.3 The Ticket, who is more patient than Scott James, I bet you. We'll hear from him in just a moment. As Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
High school basketball action in West Virginia is heating up as the teams focus on a trip to the state championship in Charleston. Stay up to date with your local teams and their progress all season long with Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia for 3 hours every Friday night from 9 to midnight. Listen online or on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State. Your local station not carrying Basketball Friday Night? It's available to them. Call them up. Let them know they should carry Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. You'll hear sports writers, broadcasters, coaches, players, and your calls recapping your team's games. Visit basketballnight.com for more details on how you can become part of the show. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup. @hoops_roundup. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, your one-stop shop for all things in West Virginia high school basketball. There's many ways you can interact with the show. Check out our website, basketballnight.com, and we're going to give you all the ways you can send us scores or call in and talk about your team's game. Call us toll-free, 1-855-345-4709, 855-345-4709. Twitter, @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. You can send us a text of your team's scores at 304-249-4924. Send a text to 304-249-4924. Email scores@basketballnight.com. Scores@basketballnight.com. If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be. It's Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, Rudy Raines, and Ryan Epling.
It's 9:46 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, and James Collier with you. We want to go right back to the phone lines to Dave Morrison, 102.3 The Ticket out of now Hinton, West Virginia, as he had Summers County's win over James Monroe tonight. Dave, first off, thanks for holding in there with us.
Oh, that's no problem. As long as I'm not behind Kozlowski, I'm in good shape.
Buddy, you're safe. He's about 2 hours out. He's still trying to get his evening dinner in. So,
if you follow,
I know where he's going. He's from the sheep.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you follow Kozlowski, pretty much the show has already ended at that point. So, Dave, tonight a nice win for Summers County over James Monroe.
Yeah, they were able to even their record 3-3 on the season. Matt Ryan with a big game. It seems like Matt Ryan always has a big game for Summers County. He had 25 points tonight. Andrew Richmond is a fine freshman for the Bobcats. He had 21 points and 13 rebounds. So that's a kid to keep an eye on right there. James Monroe was led by Clayton Moore with 16 off the bench. Summers County took a 2-point lead after the first quarter. They kept expanding it and grew it out to the 74-60 final, which it was.
So nice win there for Summers County. That's a James Monroe team that has a couple of wins on the season. So Summers County able to get that win, a nice bounce back after a very a deflating type of loss at Wyoming East earlier in the week.
Oh, yeah. Very big. Summers County, I think Wyoming East had 17 three-pointers in that ball game. Wyoming East had 17 three-pointers. Of course, they've always got a lot of shooters. Very hard to win down there, and makes it doubly hard when a team's hitting 17 threes.
Yeah, they can pile up on you in a hurry, and Wyoming East scored 103 points in that win. So a nice bounce back though for Summers County to beat James Monroe tonight. Now this Summers County team is now, as you mentioned, 3-3. It's been loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. That's been the pattern for this ball club. What do they have to do to get on a little bit of a streak?
Numerical progression. Well, I think they need to break that numerical progression.
There you go.
Where they win, lose, win, lose. If you follow that, then they're going to lose at Greenbrier West in their next game Wednesday. They have a win already over Greenbrier West. Greenbrier West is struggling at the moment. I think they're still looking for their first win. So it's always harder to win down at Greenbrier West. They play very well in that gym. Summers County scores 3-3. James Monroe has already doubled its win total from last season. They have 2 wins now. They had 1 all of last season, so they are making some progression there.
And you've got not only Greenbrier West coming up, but also a game with Bluefield. And it's a Beavers ball club that is in a rebuilding process right now. And
They are.
there's a chance to get
schedule
there.
too.
Yeah, tough schedule, rebuilding team, and they've had a couple of injuries already this season as well. So if you're Summers County, having that game at home coming up on Thursday of next week, I think there's at least a chance for some optimism there.
Well, I know Coach Bowling said after the game they're going to have their track shoes on. They know that, but this is an athletic Summers County team, so that does play into their favor. And Summers County, all teams play better at home, and they have played better at home this year. So there is some optimism there, especially if Bluefield suffered some injuries, and they are in that rebuilding mode, having lost 2 3-time All-Staters in Hill Collier and Anthony Eads.
Dave, James Collier, talking about Summers County. On the girls' side of things, a great battle earlier this week with Wyoming East and a freshman in Gabby Lupardis that drops 39 as a freshman, 15 of 18 from the floor. You said you were in attendance for this game, and what she was doing was just basically carving up Summers County all night long.
Right. She scored, I would say, 90% of her baskets were on drives to the basket, and it was kind of like a Michael Jordan performance, not just because of the points, but she put those 39 points up. I talked to their coach, Angie Boncini, after the game. She said that Lupardis had been battling the stomach flu all week leading up into that game. So, I mean, this might be something they want to investigate, because if she's putting 39 points up when she's under the weather, they might want to kind of get a virus and put it in her every game.
Feed her some bad food every night. Maybe Kozlowski can help with that.
Well, if he's going to Sheets, I know where he's going to. That's a very good possibility.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good notes around this week, though, from this area. If you look at Westside, they went up to Martinsburg and split a pair of games, lost to Jefferson. This is on the boys' side, and then beat Martinsburg. And their fine point guard, Will Fox, he had 21 points in the loss to Jefferson, and he comes back with a 19-point 10-assist performance against Martinsburg and ends up as the tournament MVP in the Fowler Memorial, which if you can go to Martinsburg and get a win, especially when you're traveling all the way from the south, that's a pretty big feather in the hat, and Westside was able to move to 4-1.
That's a boys team that I think a lot of people throughout West Virginia are looking forward to seeing as the season progresses. Obviously, Koger, an outstanding player, just a great athlete, because, I mean, you go back to the football season, took him to the semifinals, and he didn't even play football the year before.
Yeah, he was injured. I think he might have returned near the end of the season, but what he did in football this season, accounting for 60 touchdowns, is just crazy. I mean, you account for 60 touchdowns and run for over half of those as a quarterback. And he did finish third in the Kennedy voting, which is that's a feather in his cap as well, because there are so many great players in AAA this season.
Well, and Dave, I know, and you have a lot of experience with media, but from that standpoint, the attention that he gets for football, does that can do nothing but help him for basketball as well?
Well, it does, because people already know the name. You see a guy who had the season he had in football. Hey, that's the kid that had the 60 touchdowns. And Nick Cook was talking about this before. It kind of feeds one into the other. He said they kind of used the football team kind of used the springboard from going to the semifinals in basketball last year, and vice versa. They're going to try to use his success, because I think they've got 10 football players on their roster. I think Will Fox was the only one who didn't play football, and they're going to try to use that as a springboard to success in basketball.
Well, another game that was down there, again, I apologize if you didn't get to it. I didn't get a chance to talk with you about it earlier, but earlier this week, Fairmont Seniors boys traveled down into the Region 3 area and picked up a pair of wins, including a win at Wyoming East. And that's definitely a feather in that team's cap as well.
Oh, yeah, they've beaten some. I think they've got 4 wins over top 10 teams already. So, and I did talk to some Wyoming East people I think Fairmont had played down there and beat Wyoming East. It was beat them in the 20s, And I was talking to some of the East people. They said this team is better than anybody in our region right now. Which is saying something, because you've got Bluefield in there, you've got Westside in there, you got a really good Pikeview team in there that's 6-2 right now. So if you're putting them in, in Region 3, it's won something like 6 of the last 7 state championships. So for them to come in here and to beat Bluefield one night, the next night to stay at Twin Falls, then in Wyoming County, get up, go down, play a 4 o'clock game and get that win. That is a big feather in their cap, I think. And they're a team that people are going to watch them in Polka. I think they're probably the top 2 teams in AA right now.
Dave Morrison with 102.3 The Ticket out of Hinton. Certainly always enjoy having you on the show and appreciate you taking your evening out to join us. And one thing I like about Dave, he always has a pulse on not only the school that he's right there with, but also the schools in the region as well. And Dave, always appreciative.
Did I hear you guys say Barksdale was in a suit?
Yes, we're doing an investigation on that right now. We've got the.
Well, I could confirm it, but I'm going to have to confirm it. I can neither confirm nor deny it, because I'm sure you'll have someone else who actually did see this. So, I mean, this is if true, this is something I'm going to have to venture up to Beckley to see, because Barksdale was the king. Let's face it, he was the king of the pullover, king of the pullover for years. And he's in a suit. I think he's mellowing out or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who would think a coach would mellow by going into a suit?
Going to a suit and it's mellowing out.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, he's all business, I guess. That was Kozlowski. Like, fellas, I appreciate it. Always nice talking. You guys do a great job.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. And that was Dave Morrison, 102.3 The Ticket out of Hinton. And we got a couple minutes here before we go to break. And, do want to talk about just Fairmont Senior going to Bluefield and Wyoming East back-to-back nights on the road and winning both of those ball games. Bridgeport beating Morgantown and University on back-to-back nights in the EQT tournament. Polka beating Hurricane by 15. Guys, is Class AA the top of AA as good or better than the top of AAA right now?
I think there's a valid argument there. I mean, when you think about it, the depth there, just in the teams you've mentioned in AA. I believe that you're exactly right.
Man, we taught him where the switch is. We'd almost silenced Rick. It was great.
Technically inept is what I was called one time. I'm probably living up to that. But Ryan, I think that the proof is in the pudding. I think the top of Class AA would be very comparable with the top of AAA. Like you mentioned, the big Polka win over Hurricane. And the AA is loaded. I know last year it was one of the more exciting AA tournaments at Charleston in the state tournament, and I think everything's pointing towards the same way. And when you can go on the road like Fairmont Senior did and kind of head into the South and go down and get back-to-back wins in very hostile environments, if you've ever been down there, 2 tough places to play. And, James, talk about earning your stripes. The Polar Bears enjoyed the southern weather and got the job done. And it seems like a trend now. Teams are doing the back-to-back, staying overnight, traveling to a different part of the state, a very interesting way to kind of get tournament tough.
Well, it's as the coaching side, I take that into account. It's a great way to see how much stamina my team has, how conditioned we are, especially depending on whether you want to go fast, you want to go slow, depending on the type of offense that you're going to try to run, the defensive pressure that you're going to try to run. And then also you kind of get a mini look at what you're going to have to do in Charleston. You're going to win in Charleston. You're going to play back-to-back to go all the way through. You're going to have to play 3 games in 3 straight nights. So it really gives not only you as a coach an opportunity to see that, but it gives your players an opportunity to do that and do it in hostile environments away from home. And I think that's where a lot of the coaches are looking now on that Christmas break, that New Year's break of let's get away from the friendly confines. Let's go find some competition, somebody that – okay, if we take a thumping, it's no big deal. We learn from it, we take it, we bring it back, and it makes us better. And as a coach, I've never found anything positive in losing, but it brings out things that you need to work on and allows you to build off of that. And like what we talked about with a couple of the coaches earlier on, it gives you an opportunity to show some things that you don't want to show around here.
In a 4-game span, Fairmont Senior went to Charleston and beat Chapmanville Regional by 12 points. Went back home, beat Robert C. Byrd. That's a tough rivalry-type game. Beat them by 1. And then on back-to-back nights, went to the Brush Fork Armory and beat Bluefield by 3, and then went into New Richmond and beat Wyoming East by 23 points.
It's a pretty good run.
That's telling me that's a basketball team to keep an eye on. But that's no guarantee for the postseason because there are so many other good teams.
And that's the thing is the postseason, we see all these teams and what they're doing right now, and you have to get there first. But I certainly think that AA, it's going to be worth the price of admission. You'll pay for the whole seat. You only need the edge.
And before we go to break, the one thing to mention out of southern West Virginia and in the Raleigh County area, loss for all of West Virginia today. Little Jimmy Dickens, who is from Bolt, West Virginia, in Raleigh County, 94 years old, Grand Ole Opry legend. I mean, he was in Nashville in 1936.
That may be before Rick Marones was alive.
Yeah, and he actually used to perform on radio in Beckley back in the late 1930s as well. Little Jimmy Dickens passed away at the age of 94 today in Nashville, Tennessee. So the native West Virginian, one less West Virginian now on the music scene. Of course, he kind of one of those. You have to go to the oldie stations to hear Little Jimmy Dickens, but still a country music legend and definitely a loss. We're going to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll have another check of the scoreboard as Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Tonight, we welcome all of our affiliates, and here's some places that you can find Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the radio. WHFI Linside 106.7 FM, official voice of the James Monroe Mavericks. WVOW Logan 101.9 FM and 1290 AM, voice of the Logan Wildcats, Chapmanville Tigers, and the Man Hillbillies. WFGH Fort Gay 90.7 FM, official voice of the Tulsa Rebels, Spring Valley Timberwolves, and the Wayne Pioneers. WQAZLP Edmond, Fayetteville 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM, Beckley. Voice of the Fayetteville Pirates, Oak Hill Red Devils, Valley Fayette Greyhounds, Meadowbridge Wildcats, and the Midland Trail Patriots. WYAPLP Clay 101.7 FM, official voice of the Clay County Panthers. Marshall University and 88.1 FM WMUL Huntington, voice of the Thundering Herd. Go to basketballnight.com. You can listen in online. Just click Listen Live, or you can watch our online high-definition video. Thanks again to rsnsports.com for carrying our video stream tonight, too. If you're a Comcast subscriber, we're on Channel 25. Armstrong Cable, we're on Digital Channel 204. If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be: Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Thanks for being part of the Basketball Friday Night family. A shout out to the 102.3 The Ticket tweeting us tonight.
This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, heard statewide on great radio stations. Visit basketballnight.com to find the station nearest you. Get all the scores, all the time at basketballnight.com or on Twitter @hoops_roundup. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with James Collier, Rick Marone, Rudy Rains, and Ryan Epling.
10:03 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Welcome back into the program. 1 hour down, 2 to go here on another Basketball Friday Night. And Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, James Collier with you. And guys, it's been another outstanding night. Another night full of scores. Not your typical Friday night, which we'll get back into next week. We're still on the holiday schedule, but still quite a few games. And James Collier, I know you have the latest check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Looking for scores? Look no more. Go to basketballnight.com/scoreboard for all your scores from around the Mountain State. We'll start with the ladies this time. In Class AAA, number 1 Parkersburg South. 72-40 win over the Big Reds of Parkersburg. Caitlin Bird, 16 points, 9 rebounds. Taryn McCutcheon, 14 points, 8 assists. Anna Hayton had a double-double with 13 points and 10 boards. It was the Monarchs of John Marshall with a 5-point win over Indian Creek out of Wintersville, Ohio, 58-53. In Class AA, number 5 Kaiser knocks off Mountain Ridge Miners out of Frostburg, Maryland, 48-33. Lexi Taylor finishes with 20 points. Number 10, Nicholas County knocks off number 9, Westside, 57-37. Reports Hope Lester leaving that contest with an apparent injury early on. We're still trying to confirm those reports. We'll pass any information we have along later on. Union with a win over East Hardy, 55-46. Union had a half-court shot at the buzzer to end the half as Burdock knocks in 41 of Union's 55 and also has 11 steals in the contest. Miller with 18, Wetzel with 13 for East Hardy in the losing effort. Gilmer County Titans over the South Harrison Hawks, 75-21. It was Billsville, Ohio over the 100 Hornets, 63-50. A score correction to correct for you from earlier. Between Tug Valley and Cross Lanes, boys and girls both playing. The final for the girls, Cross Lanes victorious over Tug Valley, 44-19. And one final score on the girls' side, Meigs, Ohio takes out the Falcons of Wahama, 43-17. Now to the boys' scoreboard. We start in Class AAA, and we start with an upset. Number 8, Woodrow Wilson knocks off number 3, Hurricane, 69-66. Brent Osborne, 15 points in the win. JT Rogaszewski, 28 points for the Redskins in the losing effort. Number 10, Martinsburg knocks off number 4, Washington, 70-55. The Patriots' woes continue. Shady Springs knocks off Lewis County, 53-46. It was Winfield over Princeton, 62-50. In Class AA, number 2, Polka, no trouble with Nicholas County, 79-32. 4 players finish in double figures for the Dots. It was number 7, Wyoming East thumping the Independence Patriots by 30, 80-53. Number 10, the Scott Skyhawks knocks off number 8, Chapmanville by 4, 55-51. Sissonville takes care of Herbert Hoover, 68-52. It was Summers County knocking off James Monroe, 74-60. Matt Ryan with 25 points for the Mavericks. Andrew Richmond nets 21 in the winning effort for the Bobcats. In Class Single A, number 1, Wheeling Central falls to Gill St. Bernard's out of Gladstone, New Jersey in the Cancer Research Classic, 72-47. It was number 5, Greater Beckley Christian, 96. Man, 52. And the score correction from earlier, number 8, Tug Valley defeats Cross Lanes, 42-31. That's in the boys' side. 2 more scores, Williamstown over Tyler Consolidated, 77-39. Wahama defeats Doddridge County in the Doddridge County New Year's Tournament, 56-53. That's a check of your basketballnight.com scoreboard update.
Thank you very much, James. And one of the scores that you heard in there was a big Cardinal Conference win tonight for the Sissonville Indians boys team. Of course, we got a lot to talk about with Sissonville. Of course, Sissonville won 68-52. Rich Skeen is the head coach, not only of the boys, but the girls team at Sissonville as well. They're 6-0. He joins us now. And, Coach, we'll let you decide. You want to talk boys or girls basketball to start with?
Hey, it doesn't matter. I kind of know both of them a little bit, so whichever one you want to.
All right, let's start with the boys since you got that win tonight over Herbert Hoover, a Cardinal Conference win for your team, and 68-52 the final score in that one. And Coach, now your boys team off to a 4-2 start, a good start to the season.
Yeah, it really was. That's a rival of ours, Herbert Hoover, and to go up there and get a win, and a win like that, it's a great feeling. Our boys, we're starting 4 sophomores and a senior, and just really 6 games into the season, I think we've gotten better each and every game. So it's just good feeling right now. that's our third game this week and 3 wins. So it's just they're working so hard that I think that's what contributes. But they're maybe quite possibly the hardest practicing team I've ever had. So it's good that they're getting rewarded for that now.
We had a 21-point win over Wayne earlier in the week, as well as a 23-point win over Roane County in your tournament. Now, you ended up coaching 4 games in 2 days in that tournament with the boys and girls combined. And I'm going to guess that the day before New Year's, which would have been Wednesday, and I'm going to guess your brain kind of got to clear out a little bit that day.
Well, I actually did a West Virginia thing on New Year's Eve. I went 4-wheeler riding, and that kind of cleared my mind. I actually got out in the woods for 3 hours, and yeah, it was. I won't say it was a stressful 2 days, but when you put a tournament on with 8 teams, 4 boys, 4 girls, and I was in the gym a lot of hours Monday and Tuesday, and I think the games were the easiest part of it. But you're right, Wednesday, a little calming period there.
Well, now the girls team is undefeated, 6-0 on the season. They picked up wins in that tournament over Wayne and Roane County as well, and almost identical scores even. But still, you got a big game coming up tomorrow, Fairmont Senior. That should be a big game for your ball club and a nice barometer for both teams early on this season.
Yeah, it really will be. Last year at this time, we went to Fairmont and played them and got it handed to us, really. They beat us by 15 up there and probably should have beat us by more than that. And then that was actually part of their, I think, 20 or 21 game win streak. And then we saw them again in the semifinals of the state tournament and returned the favor a little bit, but just fortunate there. Just got off to a lead and held on. But they're a very good team, preseason ranked 1. They have a 6'1" girl plays point guard, and just a really big team, and it'll be a good challenge for us. And you're right, it's a good barometer at this point in the season to see where you are and what you need to work on.
Coach Madison Jones had a big outing earlier this year. How valuable is it to have someone like her on the team that can really lead by example and let your younger players follow her example that she puts out there?
Well, Madison leads by example every day. She just works so hard. I've told people in my 18 years of coaching high school basketball, she's the hardest working player I've ever coached. And it just goes to show you, too, that, short people can play basketball. I mean, she's 5'3", and I think she's done growing. I don't think she's going to get any bigger. And she just goes and works and plays a lot bigger than she really is. And you're right, she had a bigger game this year, and she had to play big. Our first 4 games, we were without Carly Pinkerton, and who got injured and was out a month. And so Madison had to step up and be big, and she's been that for us so far this year.
When you have a player like Carly that is off the court early, forcing players to step up and fill the role that she normally would be expected to take care of, how much more valuable does that make your team as it starts this push into January and towards February, of knowing now you're getting more production coming back when she returns to full health?
Right. It just maybe players that would not have gotten that many minutes had to play key roles, especially in those first 4 games. And that all of a sudden you throw Carly back in there, who's not quite 100% yet, but you throw her back in there, and now a girl coming off the bench who's got 4 games of starting under her belt, or who's played a lot more minutes, has probably a little bit more confidence, knows what's going on a little bit more, and it'll really, and I think any coach would tell you that it'll help you in the long run. We were just fortunate enough to win those games, and they were close games, so maybe get a little confidence there, but it made us probably a deeper team. It really did.
Coach, and we talked about this last year, and we've talked about it in the past. You, along with Jim Justice, share in common being basketball coaches, both boys and girls, and the balance that it requires, especially in a year where you've got a state caliber girls basketball team, and that's a boys team that, as you said, with a young team is improving throughout the year as well. Is there any concern, and I think if there were, you would have already, you wouldn't do it, but I'll ask anyway. Is there concern that maybe you don't get to spend quite the amount of time with one versus the other, maybe one that would need a little more work than the other would?
Well, we think we have that solved, that problem. And that being, I have three assistant coaches on both sides. And so I may not do as much scouting as I used to, but the assistants do. So I am there every day in practice. And I have only missed one practice for one team, and that was to go scouting, and the assistants handled practice that day. So the one consistent thing is I'm always there for practice. And then the assistants are out doing the scouting and stuff most of the time. But before, this is my fourth year doing both of them. And before that ever happened, I went to parents of the current kids, and they were all for me doing both teams. But I said, this is what's got to happen, and I have to have more help as far as assistant coaches. And they went out and worked, and we have fundraisers to help with that, to take care of maybe paying coaches and stuff like that. And so the parents have really been a big part in making this work. And the assistants, it really helps me to have great assistants, and I have that.
Coach Skeen, again, we always appreciate talking to you. We know you're a busy person, and big game tomorrow for your girls basketball team against Fairmont Senior, and the boys just keep on rolling along right now at 4-2, and they'll be right back at it here coming up later on in the upcoming week. Let me look here. You got a week off for the boys, right? Week off Friday?
Actually, yeah. So if they actually have the weekend off, and that's the first Saturday they've had off since we started this thing back in November. So I think they deserve that. And let me say this too before I get off here. When you made the reference to me and Jim Justice, that's the only thing we have in common. Is we compare both teams. I'll just leave it at that.
I thought I'd throw that out there. I mean, that's not good. That's not bad company from that standpoint.
No, that's not bad company, but I don't want people to get the wrong impression. That's about pretty much where it stops.
All right, well, Coach. By the way, before I let you go, you mentioned that the boys having the weekend off. Well, I'm looking at your boys' schedule. You got games the 9th, 10th, 13th, 15th, 17th, 20th. You make up for it.
Yeah, we'll make up for it real quick. You're right.
All right, Coach Skeen, always a pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, that's Coach Rich Skeen of the Sissonville Indians, both boys and girls basketball coach, and one of the busiest people in the state of West Virginia. We'll step aside and take a break. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Congratulations to Clay County Panthers' Gavin Nichols. Gavin was selected as the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week last week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete that made an outstanding play? Nominate them for Basketball Friday Night's Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week, and we'll do it again tonight. Go to basketballnight.com/standout athlete and just fill out the online form with your nomination. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Once again, go to basketballnight.com and fill out your nomination for the Standout Athlete of the Week. Our goal on Twitter is to have 1,100 followers. Right now, we're at 1,079. We want you to follow us on Twitter. We'll make sure to mention you, the new follower, on the show. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Send in your scores, give us a tweet, and become part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. We want you to become part of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup. @hoops_roundup. Call the show tonight, 1-855-345-4709. 855-345-4709. You can also email us at scores@basketballnight.com. Scores@basketballnight.com. Basketball Friday night in West Virginia.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to basketball night in West Virginia with James Collier, Rudy Raines, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
It's the fastest 3 hours of your week. Basketball Friday night in West Virginia, 10:20 on this Friday night. Ryan Epling, Coach Rick Marone, and James Collier with you. And once again, if you want to join us, 1-855-345-4709. You can give us a call anytime throughout the program, and you'll talk to Braxton and maybe Trey Collier. You're going to take some phone calls?
No, I think it's just Braxton. Trey's pounding away at scores, uploading on the spreadsheet, and then filtering those out for us for the scoreboard. So one half of the Collier clan out tonight, enjoying some concert with the girlfriend up in Charleston, West Virginia. So we give him one night off for the entire season, but he will be back in action. But the little brother stepping in for the help this week.
You know, I've got to be honest with you. I've known James now for about 3 or 4 years. When I met Trey here a couple of weeks ago, that's the first time I knew Trey existed. I knew about your older son Nick. I just didn't know about Trey.
Well, and the funny thing is, that's the one that everybody says is like the mini me. So that's kind of scary that I have my mini me out there and you didn't know about it. That's a good thing, Ryan.
We learn something new all the time here on Basketball Friday Night, but we have a good time as well. We hope you enjoy listening to the program. Again, you can join us at 1-855-345-4709, or you can hit us up on Twitter @hoops_roundup. Our goal is to get up to 1,100 followers by the end of the night. We are at 1,081, so we're 19 away. Again, that's @hoops_roundup to join us. And guys, we actually have a chance to talk about some of these games that have taken place, not only tonight, but of course throughout the earlier part of the week as well. And we touched on it earlier, Bridgeport's boys beating Morgantown in the EQT tournament, a game where Bridgeport actually trailed that game by double figures in the first half, came back and won by double figures going away. Westside, of course, their boys beating Martinsburg. South Charleston's girls beating Parkersburg South also. And Coach Marone, I think, you know, sometimes in a show that may be like this or similar to this, which there aren't any in West Virginia, but still you'll understand my point. You don't want to talk down to anybody in terms of teams that are maybe not all that well matched up. Sometimes there's a runaway team that is head and shoulders above everybody else, and you don't really want to just go out and just flat out say that, because it sounds a little bit like you're hyping them up too much or not talking about the other teams as much. I honestly think all three classes, boys and girls this year, are open and should be outstanding tournaments.
Should be outstanding. And I think the regular season has already been outstanding. And, you know, when we were talking to Coach James from St. Albans earlier, he mentioned a boatload of teams that returned almost intact from last year. Talked about the talent. South Charleston wasn't even one of them. And they did knock off Park South. When the next rankings come out, Ryan, expect the Black Eagles, Lady Black Eagles, possibly be in that #1 spot or at the top. South still hanging on to that, but that's all going to roll here. January is really the one where those rankings, the polls and stuff really look at what you're doing this year. But I'm with you. I think it is wide open and a lot of storylines to play out, I think, on both boys and girls' side, and it is deep, deep, deep as far as talent in both boys and girls basketball.
I'll tell you, somebody who has probably seen more basketball than most people the last 2 Fridays is John Blackmore with WKKX in Wheeling. He had the Wheeling Central Gill St. Bernard's game out of New Jersey today, and Wheeling Central fell in that ball game. John, you have to enjoy basketball to do what you do, obviously, but at some point, how many games have you seen now in the last 8 days?
Let's see. I saw 5 games. Let's see, 9 last weekend. I had 2 games this week. My son played in 3 games, and I saw 5 today. So yeah, I've seen a few basketball games.
Yeah, at the Cancer Research Classic, Wheeling Jesuit hosting that today, and Gil St. Bernard's, the Knights out of Gladstone, New Jersey, get a 72-47 win over Wheeling Central. Sometimes you don't know what you're getting.
It was that. By the way, it was that ugly, in case you're wondering. And no Tyus battle today. Gil St. Bernard's. I mean, look, it's another level of basketball. It's nice that this event is in Wheeling, and Wheeling Central and Wheeling Park both get to play in it. And actually, Newman Goretti plays Park tomorrow. They lost to Gil St. Bernard's by 3. So Park will have their hands full tomorrow without Ryan Reinbu. But Gil St. Bernard's, without Tyus Battle, who has his pick of UConn, Duke, Kentucky, Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, you name it, he did not play. And Wheeling Central looked out of sorts. They were outsized, outquicked. This is the number 6 team in the state of New Jersey, and it would be a big double-A in West Virginia, and they are by far the best in their class in the state and 6th overall. So not really a fair game for Wheeling Central, but look, it's in Wheeling, and they've got to be part of it. And they tried hard. They played hard. Harler had a good evening. He finished with 15 points. But there was just way too much Gil St. Bernard, just way too big.
I think sometimes, even though that matchup didn't turn out to be a fantastic matchup per se, you can get some pretty good memories out of a game like that too. Not just not just a learning experience, but also, hey, we took a shot at one of the elite teams from a basketball-centric state like New Jersey, and Wheeling Central came up short, but you took a shot.
Let me tell you this too. Yeah, you take a shot, and Coach Calipari's sitting, at the scorer's table. I mean, it's not. I mean, how often you get? And then, I mean, that's the big name today. Coach K was supposed to be there for the last game. He did not make it. But there are numerous, and I mean, there were probably 20 to 25 Division I coaches making their way through the doors today. You look around, you see a Virginia Tech jacket. I mean, just everybody. Illinois, you name it. It seemed like they were there today. Watching these kids play, and there were some huge opportunities for Wheeling Central kids, and that's what makes it great. They're the envy of the OVAC this weekend. 50 teams and only 2 of them get to play in this. We get televised tomorrow on American Sports Network, the first year without ESPN. But to have John Calipari at the table and waiting for Coach K to walk through the door was memory enough for these kids. I mean, it's just a tremendous opportunity.
I think that would legitimize any event right there.
You think so?
that might do it.
That might turn down an interview, or he doesn't turn down an autograph. He must have taken 1,000 pictures and signed 1,000 programs. He tells no one no. He was 2 seats from me all night and never said no to anyone, which is amazing.
That's definitely something impressive. But now Wheeling Central moving forward. That's 2 Friday nights in a row that they've had difficult losses. Lost to Magnolia last week, and of course there was no poll ranking that came out this week that was new. That's why they're number 1. It's still the ranking from before. But is this a team that tonight's a different animal, but as a whole, is this a team that is still right about where you would expect it to be this time of year?
Absolutely. I think as we see more Brent Price, he's going to make more of a contribution as a freshman. He's a 6th guy off the bench. He's going to be a big difference for him. And really, Alonzo Mans was a big presence underneath with David Park last year. And Brian Campbell was kind of that 3rd guy. And he's a junior this year. He's 6'3". They have to establish themselves underneath. There are nights when they can shoot the lights out and they can beat anybody. But when that doesn't happen and the buckets aren't falling, they need to get points in the paint, and these kids need to step up underneath. And that's something that Mel Stevens and Chip Calloway will work on. And, as it gets closer in the OVAC tournament than the state tournament, they'll be clicking. We know what they have up front with Trenton Smith and Chase Harler, especially Boyd Bybee outside shooting the ball. He's kind of not unknown, but he is the man that nobody talks about that everybody should be talking about. And they'll be there when the time is right.
That's a boys team that is right now 5-2 on the season. Of course, we've just happened to catch them on both losses. That's just how it works out here on Basketball Friday Night. But,
well, it's 2 big Friday nights for them, but they won't have many of those throughout the season.
And I don't. How closely do you follow the girls' team of Wheeling Central?
Oh, pretty close. I mean, Kate Callasy and Chip Callasy, his daughter, who's an assistant coach on the boys' team, know them very well. And Lindsay Baker, actually, point guard, her and Chase Harler have been very tight friends for the past couple of years and got to know them really well. It's a nice girls' team. They have so much talent, and really a lot of young girls, with the exception of Baker, who all played on these travel teams together. And we expect big things out of them. And the freshmen, let's see, Sydney Bennington is the older sister, and I believe it's Riley Bennington is the freshman guard. And she may be, by the end of the year, maybe the most well-known Wheeling Central Lady Maroon Knight. She's going to collect plenty of awards on the way to the end of the season. She's a great basketball player.
John, it should be a fun regular season and a fun postseason as well. And again, you're going to see some high-level basketball there tonight at the Cancer Research Classic, and you'll see some more tomorrow. Just go ahead and, if you can, again, these games are at Wheeling Jesuit. Just kind of run down the schedule for us for tomorrow. I know most of these teams are out-of-state teams, but many people will recognize some of the names.
Absolutely. And tonight we had wins from La Lumiere. Actually, they fell. They were the number 18 team in the country. They lost to Archbishop John Carroll. Villa Angela St. Joseph was 15 in the country, and number 1 in Ohio fell tonight as well. Stevenson and Chaminade broke the record with 88 points tonight. Jason Tatum is the number 1 junior in the country, according to most publications. He finished the night with 39, and Jalen Brunson, who's going to Villanova, finished with 48 points and set the record for the CRC, breaking Jahil Okafor's record. Montverde Cruz tonight, they broke the all-time scoring record with 100 points. They have kids that come off the bench that have Division I commits to Florida State and Florida on the floor, Wake Forest, LSU. Ben Simmons is an absolute monster. Tomorrow, we start at 1:10, where the number 6 team in the country, Stevenson, takes on Gonzaga out of Washington, D.C. At 3 o'clock, Newman Goretti, their number 1 Pennsylvania AAA team, 7-0. They'll face the Patriots without Ryan Reinbu, who I understand will not be playing tomorrow due to an injury. Made me out 2 to 4 weeks for the part. At 4:45, Bishop Norman from Las Vegas. They feature the number 9 and number 10 players in the country. Steven Zimmerman, who is 7 foot, with interest from Kansas, Kentucky, UCLA, Arizona, Indiana, Louisville, and the list goes on. Chase Jeter has already committed to Duke. That's a pretty good program. He'll be playing for Coach K. They'll take on Simeon, who plays at 4:45 tomorrow. Simeon with Zach Norville, who's going to Memphis. Also, the 63rd best senior in the country, Edwin Morrow, who's heading to Nebraska. And the 50th best senior, Dennis Williams, who is going to Illinois. And then tomorrow night, Whitney Young and Huntington St. Joe's Prep. And Huntington Prep right now, 4 in the country. And they are absolutely loaded with talent as well. They have the 37th best senior, who has offers from Florida, Kansas, and UCF, along with Thomas Bryan, who's a West Virginia recruit. Also, Mizzou, Kentucky, Florida, Ohio State on his list, and Miles Bridges, number 7 junior in the country, who's got a list as long as your arm, including Michigan, West Virginia, and everybody else we've mentioned throughout this call. And then at 8 o'clock, Montverde back on it again, number 5 team. They play Paul VI, the Panthers, out of Fairfax, Virginia. They feature the 16th best junior, V.J. King, with offers from Michigan, Kentucky, Harvard, Ohio State, Syracuse, Arizona, you name it, he's got a list. And number 74 senior, 6'6", Franklin Howard, who is penciled in to go to Syracuse and has already committed to them. So big night tomorrow night at the CRC. If you want to listen to any games, you can do that on the WatchDogNetwork.com.
All right, John Blackmore, that covers it right there. Thank you very much.
Hey, you guys have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. Enjoy all that basketball. And that's high-level basketball up there as well. So we'll step aside, take a break. When we come back, we'll get a check of the scoreboard, and we'll talk with Mike Roby, head coach of the Bridgeport Indians. We'll do that when we come back here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be. It's Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. A shout out to our new Twitter followers tonight. Andy Apple. Thanks for following us tonight, Andy. And Mark Price. They're new followers at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. And our goal tonight is to get to 1,100 followers. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll make sure to mention you on the show. @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Send in your scores, give us a tweet, and become part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. On Twitter, @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Last week, we asked you to vote in our poll question. Are the new public address announcer rules good or bad? And 100% of you agreed they're bad. This week's poll question, what is a better usage of the holiday break? Learn on the fly by playing in tournaments or develop the team through practices during the break. You've got until 11:45 tonight to vote in this week's poll. Go to basketballnight.com and you'll find this week's poll on the right-hand side of the page. We'll share the results of voting tonight at the end of the show. Check it out and vote in the poll at basketballnight.com. There's lots of ways you can connect with the show. Call us toll-free, 1-855-345-4709, 855-345-4709. Twitter or text too.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, Rudy Raines, and Ryan Epling.
10:36 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Coach Marone and James Collier joining me. I'm Ryan Epling. Thanks for being with us here on this Basketball Friday Night. We've got Mike Roby, who's the head coach of the Bridgeport Indians. We'll talk to him in just a moment. But before we go back to the phone lines, let's get another check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard with the coach, Rick Marone.
Looking for scores? Look no more. BasketballNight.com has all your score updates. It's one-stop shopping. You don't even need a shopping cart. First in boys basketball, Class AAA upset. Woodrow Wilson 69, Hurricane 66, Martinsburg 70, Washington 55. Capital Cougars get an 18-point win over St. Albans 63-45. Shady Spring 53, Lewis County, the Minutemen 46. Also in Class AAA, Princeton comes up short. They lose at Winfield 62-50. Generals with the big win. Bellamy with 25 for Winfield. In Class AA, the Polka Dots continue to roll 79-32 over Nicholas County at the home of the Grizzlies. Wyoming East, the Warriors 83, Independence 53. Chapmanville falls 55-51 at Scott. The Skyhawks a big 4-point win in that rivalry game. Sissonville, the Indians 68, Herbert Hoover 52. Also in Class AA, Summers County 74-60 over James Monroe, led by Matt Ryans, 25 points for the Bobcats. Class A, Wheeling Central falls to Gill St. Bernard's out of Gladstone, New Jersey, 72-47, part of the Cancer Research Classic at Wheeling Jesuit University. Greater Beckley Christian gets a 96-52 win over the Man Hillbillies. Tug Valley, the Panthers, ranked number 8 in Class A, they get a 42-31 win over Cross Lanes Christian. Meadow Bridge, the Wildcats, 57, Montcalm 30. Van, the Bulldogs fall to Sherman, 74-65. The Tide, this Tide rolls tonight, 74-65, unlike the Tide last night, and we won't get into that. Williamstown 77, Tyler Consolidated 39. Coach Scott Sorrow's crew a big win in that one. Wahama defeats Doddridge County 56-53 in a big Class A matchup. Let's move over to the girls' side first. In Class AAA, the battle in Parkersburg. Parkersburg South gets the better of the Big Reds, 72-40. Caitlin Bird with 16, Taryn McCutcheon with 14 to lead the Lady Patriots. Also in Class AAA, John Marshall gets a 58-53 win over Indian Creek. The Redskins out of Wintersville, Ohio. In Class AA, the Golden Tornado of Josh Blow at Kaiser. They're ranked 5th. They get a 48-33 win over Mountain Ridge out of Frostburg, Virginia. Also in Class AA, Nicholas County gets a big win over Westside, 57-37. reports that Hope Lester left that game early with what appeared to be a knee injury. We'll try and get an update on that before the end of the program. Also in girls basketball, the Bridgeport Bulldogs out of Ohio 59, Bishop Donahue 51. 55-46 Union over East Hardy. A half-court shot at the buzzer to end the half, and Burdock puts in 41 points tonight for Union. Also in Class A, Gilmer, the Gilmer County Titans 75, South Harrison 21. Bealsville, Ohio 63-50 winners over the 100 Lady Hornets. And Cross Lanes Christian 44-19 over Tug Valley. Our final score in Class A, the Meigs Marauders out of Ohio 43. The Wahama White Falcons 17. That's a look at your basketballnight.com scoreboard update.
Thank you very much, Coach Marone. The Bridgeport Indians are undefeated. That's nothing new. It's a ball club that finished a 13-1 season on the gridiron for the second straight year and won its second consecutive football state championship. They have quite a few players back from last year's team that went to the basketball state tournament as well. Coach Mike Roby joins us now. And Coach, Bridgeport on another successful run through boys sports especially, but basketball team off to another fantastic start at 5-0 and a nice run through the EQT tournament earlier this week.
Yes, sir. We're off to a good start, although we're not real sure of where we're going. We're trying to stay out of each other's way right now because we have so many kids that just returned to us from the state football championship team. 3 of our top 6 kids played football, and 6 of our top 10 played football. So we went an awful long time with really only 4 of our regular kids practicing. So we're still working out the kinks right now early in the season.
Well, Coach, I got a chance to see that football team, and that's an aggressive group. How do you get a guy such as Dante Bonamico out of football aggression mode and into basketball mode?
I was talking with Dante today at practice because Dante's frustrated because he's not shooting the ball very well right now. And, all of those kids that come from football, they've just got that bulldog mentality, and Dante and John Wilfong and those type of kids, they're hard-nosed, aggressive kids. And then when you put back the rest of our starters, we've got 4 starters back from last year. Chase Roby and John Wilfong, Dante Bonamico, and Donald Coomer, they all started for us last year. And to be honest, all 4 of those kids, they all have that same mentality. They've got that bulldog mentality, and they want to win. They expect to win every time they go out there. And one thing I like about our kids is I never ever have to ask them to play hard. I mean, they're going to give you everything they've got and leave everything out on the floor. They're a really fun group to coach.
Coach, when you have the players, as you mentioned, that consistently they're in that mix in that state championship game or the late in the season in football, is that an addition to your team that you kind of say, okay, I'll get this at some point, I make what I have with what I have, and then you go forward, and it's almost an additional bonus when these guys become eligible and can actually start to contribute to the team as they are starting to now?
Yeah, we were lucky in the fact that our 2 guards, especially Roby and Coomer, they don't play football, so they were there, and Chase is a 3-year starter for us, and Donald's a 2-year starter for us, and so we had a lot of experience, which it was kind of a double-edged sword. We had a lot of young kids that get a lot of reps early before the football kids get back, and I think that pays off for us, double-fold. Once the football kids get back, we've got young kids that are in the mix fighting for that number 8, 9 spot and so on, and they're a little bit ahead of the curve simply because we had experienced guards that were still there to kind of help coach, alongside. And it's a good situation for later in the year. Our first 3 or 4 games, like I said, we're kind of scrambling, trying to get on the same page and make sure we're not just running over top of each other. But eventually it becomes a real good mix. It puts our young kids on a higher learning curve earlier.
Well, 3 games in 3 days and 3 wins. A win over Frankfurt, 88-78. A win over University, 79-60. And a win over Morgantown, 66-57. Let's talk about that Morgantown game. That's a game where your team was behind early and through much of the first half, and really in the third quarter was able to take over that ball game. Just tell me about that win over the Mohegans.
Again, but I'll tell you this, Morgantown is long and athletic, and they're going to make noise in AAA. There is no doubt in my mind. I truly believe Coach Tallman's squad has a legitimate chance to be in the, they can go as far as they want to in that state tournament this year. I think they're one of the 3 or 4 teams that's capable of winning it. And with that being said, my kids are kind of just the opposite of Morgantown. We're not real big, but we're really, really scrappy. And we were down 9 at halftime. We made a couple of changes defensively, really out of necessity, because, we were trying to keep Morgantown off the boards and hopefully hope that they would shoot the ball from the outside, and which leads to 2 things. My kids, we work every single day transition. We get it out and go pretty well, and it helps us. We got a lot of long rebounds, which kicked our running game into gear, so it kind of worked both ways. It helped us defensively in the fact that by changing defenses and really focusing keeping the ball out of the paint, the long rebounds let us rebound with them a little better and get out in transition, which led to some easy buckets for us.
Coach, your team again undefeated at 5-0 in a game at Preston coming up on Tuesday. Then you'll be at home against Grafton on Thursday. Thanks for joining us, and again, congratulations on the good start, and look forward to hearing from you again.
Okay, thank you for having me, fellas.
All right, that's Bridgeport coach Mike Roby. As again, the Indians, they just seem to win at everything. Won the baseball state title last year, won the last 2 football state championships, and that basketball team's going to be right in the mix.
Something we've talked about throughout the program. Winning is contagious across all sports, and Bridgeport showing it truly is.
When we come back on Basketball Night in West Virginia, we're going to stay in the Big Ten. We're going to talk with Fairmont senior girls coach Corey Hines. We'll do that when we come back. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Congratulations to Clay County Panthers' Gavin Nichols. Gavin was selected as the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week last week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete make an outstanding play? Nominate them for Basketball Friday Night's Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. And coming up very shortly, you're going to know who it is this week. Go to basketballnight.com/standout athlete. Fill out the online form with your nomination. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. You can find everything you need about West Virginia high school basketball at basketballnight.com. A shout out to a new Twitter follower, Kyle Vertok. Thanks for following us, and we are shooting for 1,100 tonight. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll mention your name on the show at @hoops_roundup. At @hoops_roundup. Send in your scores, give us a tweet, and become part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be. It's Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Streaming video live from the studios at Marshall University, visit basketballnight.com for video, audio, and the scoreboard, updated as soon as we receive information from games playing tonight.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, Rudy Raines, and Ryan Epling.
Welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. I'm Ryan Epling along with James Collier.
The Rick Marone, like the Ohio State, is about to enter the building.
Yeah, you know, speaking of the Ohio State, Big Ten success.
Nice
last
segue.
night. Yeah, Big Ten success. Somewhat unexpected, but where it is not unexpected is the Big Ten Conference within the state of West Virginia. Those are the schools such as Bridgeport, Fairmont Senior, Robert C. Byrd. Fairmont Senior girls basketball coach Corey Hines joins us now. Coach, that's always a competitive conference that you're in, and it shares a name with one that is under a little scrutiny, but one that's having a big day as well today.
Hey, how you guys doing, man? I was wondering what I had to do to get on this program.
You're winning. You keep winning, and we just finally got to you.
Hey,
so, you know.
Hey, and don't get me wrong, I love West Virginia, but see, I'm originally from Michigan, so you know, you know that Big Ten thing, yeah.
That's a tough swallow for you, isn't it, Coach?
Hey, I was a supporter, and I wanted to keep Rich Rod, so I was mad when they got rid of Rich. So, I mean, we got a good coach coming in now, but my goodness, I mean, we have, you know, but I love West Virginia too. Don't get me wrong. Shout out to my boy Logan Moore.
Yeah, there you go.
From the Big Ten Conference too. Yeah, shout out to Logan. So how you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great tonight, and great to have you as well. And your ball club, again, off to another good start. High expectations there this year with that squad. And North Marion got you a little early in the season. They're really good. They're another Big Ten school. But since then, you guys have really put together another nice string of games here.
Yeah, you know, when I was making that schedule in March, you start off like with Willem Park, and then you go Morgantown, and then North Marion. I was feeling really good, and then you have the injury things happen. You got, you know, certain, you know, you don't have like everything that you had last year. So that's a tough place to play, man. It's tough to play at North. Mike, we call him the Godfather. He does a great job because every time you shake his hand, he got that big ring, or championship ring, and also. So shake his hand, he got that ring on. He reminds you about the championship. So it's a tough place to play, very tough. But I really enjoy the conference. I mean, from top to bottom, we have some good teams. Like you said, North Marion, Bridgeport, Coach Fowler is doing a great job there. And then United, Buchanan stepping it up this year. They're doing, you know, they're getting on a little string. So, like you said, it's a very tough conference. Very proud to be in it.
And it's definitely one that we follow pretty closely here, and because there's a lot of competitiveness within that. But let's talk about stepping out of conference. You've got a nice out-of-conference game tomorrow with Sissonville, and we talked with Coach Skeen earlier, and I know he was talking about how it's a good barometer for his team to find out where they are. It's really a good barometer for both teams.
Oh, yes. Coach Skeen is a great coach. And he must have the patience of Job because he coaches boys and girls. So I know anybody that could do that, man, I give them credit. So we look forward to going down there and, you know, seeing where we stand. Like I said, he runs an excellent program. You know, before I made that schedule, I felt real good. But now I'm looking at him like, man, Coach, what you thinking? You trying to every week you trying to, you know, test your team. So, but we'll be ready to play, and hopefully, you know, our fans will be ready to cheer. So, give them something to cheer about.
Coach, a slow start out of the gate, 1-2 as you drop the two games back-to-back to North Marion and Morgantown. But then since then, 6 in a row. And how important is that to have that kind of momentum early on in the season, especially coming into this big game against Sissonville tomorrow?
Oh, looking at it, you know, that's kind of the plan. Like I tell people, you know, we took a lot of heat for that in the beginning, but I tell people I don't want to be the best team in the state, you know, in December. I want to be the best team, you know, state, you know, into February going into March. That's when I want to be the best. So you have to take games like that, and you got to take challenges. to help prepare. Because like last year, we won like 21 games in a row, and you know, people still, you know, you still don't know what you're doing as a coach. They still jumping you, but because you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't win 22, you know, so it's kind of like, hey, so I had to figure something out. I said, man, I like I told the people down in Charleston, I do not care like what ranking I'm going into Charleston with. I just want to go. I just want to have our team being in there, 1 through 8. I just want to be one of the teams going in with an opportunity to, you know, play for a state title. So that's our goal.
I think Coach Marone can empathize with you there a little bit.
Yeah, Coach, been there, done that, but haven't been there in a while, so I'm envious of you. I think you're doing a great job, Coach. You know, when you follow girls basketball, again, I'm down in the southern end of the state, but the program you have built there and the player, you all play so hard. I mean, when I got to see you on the state tournament last year, and then over the last you know, the last season, you know, your girls really go after it, and I think it really goes back to, you know, to the type of program that you run. But you mentioned going out of conference and taking on teams like Sissonville and getting you ready for the state or for the playoff sectional and regional play. But how do you balance that? I know you've got a mixture of young players and also some veteran players. You know, is that experience where you've been to Charleston a big factor in your girls understanding what they're working for by playing that schedule?
Yeah, yes, it does. We have been very blessed, like each and every year since, like, this will be my 5th year, but every year we've had, like a freshman, someone step up every year. So that's one of the keys is, you know, as a coach, you have to keep your thing going. You have to have players that are young buy into your system quickly so you can keep it going, because you're going to lose those seniors. Like every year you're going to have some seniors that you love dearly, that helped build this and you went to battle with, but you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them, and they're going to graduation. So this year is no different. We have some young people be able to step up. You know, Abby Staller and Erica Bowles are sophomores are stepping up. Angela De Lorenzo is a freshman. Haley Johnson is a freshman stepping up. So then you mix them in with the older players that's been, you know, starters. Like we're getting Caden Whaley back. She's starting to get healthy each and every week. She's getting a little bit stronger, a little bit better. And that's really one of the big goals we have. We want to get back to Charleston. We want her to get back on that floor. You know, Tyra Horton. You have, and of course, Emily Staller. Emily's, like, her leadership has been excellent. It's going to be some tears at the banquet, you know, when I see her and Caden there. I mean, it's going to be some tears, but it's also going to be tears of joy because these young ladies have academically done some things extraordinary. They're 4.0 students, and they're also, Emily got a scholarship to Cleveland State, and then you got Caden got several schools that are looking at her to offer her scholarship also. So that lets us know that our program is going in the right direction, and we got girls academically that are performing even better than they are on the court. And I think that's the key to it all.
Coach, that's the key, and the quality of people that are coming through your program. And I tell you what, from a coaching standpoint, Hart went out to you last year. I know you had an injury there that was a big part. I know there's no excuses, and your team battled right through to the semifinals last year. But how much of a motivator is that? You guys were really on the precipice looking at trying to get that state championship last year. You weren't able to get it done, but has that fueled the fire for the Lady Polar Bears this year as you went into this new campaign?
Oh yeah, yes sir. Like the Caden, the thing that happened to Caden was very, like, it came at the wrong time. But then, like, a lot of people don't know, and we're not making excuses, but Tara Horton dislocated her finger. So you got a point guard with dislocated fingers trying to run the point, so they were able to back off of her because she couldn't dribble, she couldn't shoot. So that takes you down to two starters that really can't play, and then you're looking for some young ladies on the bench to be able to step up that were really young to try to step in and fill those shoes, and it was tough. So we built upon that. That was one of the, like we say, no excuses. We tell everyone else that you have to be ready because you never know when your turn is going to come up. I mean, everyone they don't realize it's not just skill to win a championship. You also have to be blessed and very lucky, and that's one thing that we realized. Like luck wasn't totally on our side. We ran into a tough team, in Sissonsville. They played harder than us that night, and they deserved to win that game. But good thing that the year passed and we get a summer to think about it. Now we can move forward. That's why I'm coming back to Sissonsville, because I feel that they owe me. You know what I'm saying?
And you get to bring everybody with you.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Hey, Coach, I'm back. That's what I'm telling you, man.
Hey, those are the types of matchups we love any time of year, and not just in Charleston, not just in March. I think it makes for great basketball year-round. Coach Hines, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, that's Fairmont Senior Girls coach Corey Hines. Right now we have to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we've got a full last hour for you. Load up and get ready. We've got one of the top freshmen in the state of West Virginia who will join us on the program. We've got our resident referee, Bo Anderson.
We've still got our standout athlete of the week coming up.
Rich Kozlowski's on hold already. J.D. Rollins as well. This is Basketball Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
A big thank you out there to everyone helping make this program possible and all the stations carrying it. Thanks to WVOW in Logan, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM. Thanks to Speedy Bevins, Chris Kidd, and their chief engineer, Terry Bucklew, for all their help. WVOW Logan is the voice of the Wildcats, Tigers, and Hillbillies. WQAZ LP Edmond, 98.5 FM. Thanks to Sherry Siner, Bill Laird, Tom Siner, their chief engineer. They're the voice of the Fayetteville Pirates, Oak Hill Red Devils, Valley Fed Greyhounds, Meadowbridge Wildcats, and Midland Trail Patriots. They're quite busy as a station. Thanks also to WHFI, our new affiliate this year in Linside, West Virginia, 106.7 FM. Big thank you to Mark Blevins and James Monroe High School. They're the voice of the James Monroe Mavericks. Thanks to Andy Waddell, T.G. Griffith, at WYAPLP 101.7 FM Clay. We really appreciate all their help and their coverage of the Clay County Panthers. WYAPLP in Clay. Thank you to 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, home of the Rebels, Pioneers, and Timberwolves. Special thanks to Hazel Dameron for all her support and help. Also, Marshall University and 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington.
This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, heard statewide on great radio stations. Visit basketballnight.com to find the station nearest you. Get all the scores, all the time at basketballnight.com or on Twitter @hoops_roundup. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with James Collier, Rick Marone, Rudy Raines, and Ryan Epling.
It's 11:02 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, James Collier with you. We've got so many callers on hold right now that I just want to jump right back in. We'll do that in just a moment. We'll hear from Gabby Lapardis, freshman at Wyoming East, an outstanding basketball player, J.D. Rollins with the Register Herald out of Beckley. We'll talk with Rick Kozlowski as well. We know he's on a time crunch. We're on one as well. James Collier, you got another check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Dial 911. We may need a fire extinguisher after this scoreboard update. Let's go straight to the girls' side and get the scores. We'll start first in Class AAA. Number 1, Park South, 72. Parkersburg, 40. It was John Marshall over Indian Creek, 58-53. In Class AA, Kaiser defeats Mountain Ridge out of Maryland, 48-33. Nicholas County knocks off Westside, 57-37. An update on Hope Lester. It appears she has a hyperextended knee. That's a report from her parents. Greenbrier West knocks off Independence, 54-14. Oak Glen defeats East Liverpool, 58-45. In Class Single A, number 5 Williamstown defeats number 7 Parkersburg Catholic, 69-57. It was number 10 Trinity Christian over Moorfield 78-43. Bridgeport out of Ohio knocks off Bishop Donahue 59-51. It was Montcalm over Buffalo by 3, 38-35. Union defeats East Hardy 55-46. Gilmer County over South Harrison 75-21. Billsville out of Ohio defeats the 100 Hornets 63-50. Cross Lanes defeats Tug Valley 44-19. And it's Meggs over Wahama 43-17. On the boys' side, we'll start in Class AAA, and an upset to start things as number 8 Woodrow Wilson defeats number 3 Hurricane 69-66. Brett Osborne 15. JT Rogaszewski with 28 in the losing effort. Number 10 Martinsburg over number 4 Washington 70-55. It's the Capital Cougars defeating St. Albans 63-45. Shady Springs over Lewis County 53-46. Lincoln County defeats Buffalo 59-46. And it was Winfield over Princeton 62-50. In Class AA, number 2 Polka, no problem with Nicholas County 79-32. Number 7 Wyoming East over Independence 83-53. It was number 10 Scott over number 8 Chapmanville 55-51. Sissonville defeats Herbert Hoover 68-52. Summers County over James Monroe 74-60. This just in, Liberty, Raleigh, and Pikeview was postponed. In Class Single A, Wheeling Central drops to Gill St. Bernard's 72-47 in the Cancer Research Classic. Number 2 Notre Dame all over number 6 Clay Battelle 97-42. It was number 5 Greater Beckley Christian over Man 96-52. Number 8 Tug Valley defeats Cross Lanes 42-31. Pendleton County by 2 over Harmon 49-47. Meadow Bridge defeats Montcalm 57-30. Van falls to Sherman 74-65. Tyler Consolidated drops a game to Williamstown 77-39. And Wahama over Doddridge County 56-53. That's your check of your basketball.com scoreboard update.
It was earlier this week when Wyoming East girls basketball beat Summers County 74-63. Gabby Lapardis had 39 points in that game. She's a freshman. She came from Pineville Middle School, which just last year finished up a 67-game winning streak. And the Wyoming East Warriors girls are undefeated to this point. She joins us now on the show. Gabby, when was the last time you lost?
When I lost? 5th grade, I think, until I was playing AAU basketball.
It's been an impressive streak and an impressive run, and now in your freshman season with Wyoming East and a big win over Summers County earlier this week. That was Summers County's first loss. You're in a region that is just basketball crazy with Westside, who won the title last year, has won 2 out of the last 3. Summers County, who has the program that had the 105-game winning streak earlier in the decade. And really, your team right now is perhaps the one that's standing out in that group.
Oh, yeah.
Just as you would expect, right?
Exactly.
There you go. So tell me about this game against Summers County. 39 points in that ball game. That's a rivalry game. That's one that's going to be a rival for 4 years. And for you in high school, and to come out in the first time in that big rivalry setting and get the not only get the win, but to get it on the road and to have such a big performance.
What? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was just saying, tell me about that performance against Summers County, 39 points on the road against them. What were you able to do to be so effective? Was it a mix-up or mixing up jump shots, or were you able to get to the rim? How were you able to get to 39 points in that ball game?
I just went to the rim as much as I could. That's what my coach, Angie Bonzini, wanted me to do. And I dished to the open players, just moving the ball up the court. We played really solid defense, and that ended up in a lot of good transition plays.
Gabby, James Collier, first off, congratulations on the win and the performance. 3 words took off after that performance on Twitter: attack, attack, attack. Tell me about that. I know a lot of your friends were talking about. What did that mean after that game?
Oh, well, attack, attack, attack has just been the word around the county now, and we're making shirts for it because that really is what Wyoming East basketball girls program is all about, because we're so fast and we just run our break really well.
in that game, that was something that they talked about, how well you were able to control the tempo, break that pressure from Summers County, and it was, as we talked to one of the other callers earlier, said you were getting easy pretty much any time you wanted to, Michael Jordan-esque attacks to the rim. What was it that the game plan going in that allowed you to be able to set up and execute so well?
I didn't exactly have a game plan other than just go out there and play and do my thing. And my thing is just attacking the basket as much as I could. And I like to pass and stuff. So the game plan was just take it as it comes.
Gabby, this is Coach Marone from Tulsa High. A big howdy from Dina Geralds and her mom Tammy and Dino. They said to make sure and tell you hi. So congratulations to you. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, kind of get your perception, a lot of people don't understand with your experience. You mentioned travel ball and the AAU experience that you've had. You've played a lot of basketball with a lot of great talent, and I think as you get into your career at Wyoming East girls has a long tradition, but over the last few years they've struggled a bit, and Westside has kind of had the upper hand. How fulfilling is it for you and your teammates to be able to get the Lady Warriors back into that conversation at the top of Class AA girls basketball?
Oh, it's phenomenal. That's really what everyone has been waiting for like the past 3 years, because we knew we had a lot of young talent coming up, and our older players have really helped develop the team so well. And we're so excited to see what this year gives us, and we're excited to see how far we go.
And one other thing, you mentioned the older players. I tell you, as a coach, that is something that's really special. When you have a young group that you're a part of, and you come into a squad, there's some girls that have been part of that program. Have they been welcoming? Has the chemistry been really good? Because when you have veteran players and you have freshmen and younger players, sometimes it takes a little while to mesh, but it looks like you guys have seamlessly stepped in and everybody's on board and everybody's bought in.
Oh, yeah. Everybody is just mixed together so well with the younger players and the older players. A lot of them, like the seniors, they really helped us out with, like, coming in and knowing what to do. They told us about how Angie was and just all the drills they helped us with.
Gabby Lapardis, freshman at Wyoming East. Great start to the season, undefeated right now, and wish you the best of luck. And perhaps we get to catch up with you again later on in the season.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving right along, we got to go to Rick Kozlowski. We'll get to J.D. Rollins in just a minute. Rick Kozlowski, Martinsburg Journal. We know you're on a time crunch. Rick, thanks for joining us, and welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. And how are things in Martinsburg this evening?
Well, we're expecting an ice storm perhaps overnight, which would be, I guess, probably our first little burst of winter.
Yeah, made it all the way to January.
Well, it is winter, but Sunday it's supposed to be back up in the 60s.
Yeah, that's the way the weather seems to have gone around here of late, and I'm not complaining. Rick,
I'm certainly not complaining either. Hey, first off, Happy New Year's there, folks.
Yeah, Happy New Year's to you as well, Rick. Tonight, Martinsburg beats Washington 70-55. That game may be a little closer than what some people would have expected.
Perhaps. I really think right now what we're seeing from teams in the Eastern Panhandle is they're still trying to figure out who they are, what they can do, and I think they're still in a development process. Martinsburg is just one of those teams. And they look pretty good against a very good Briar Woods team one game this week, and then lost a close game to Westside. Westside, nice scrappy bunch of players, and quite honestly, Westside could have won that by more than 3 points. Foul shooting troubles in the third quarter. I think they were like just 2 of 9. So night before Westside played, and I think they were like 14 out of 15 from the line.
Well, that was an interesting 2 days there in Martinsburg with that Briar Woods, Martinsburg, Jefferson, and Westside, and all 4 teams went 1-1.
Yeah, all 4 teams 1-1, and one of those mixer tournaments. I absolutely hate them. What do you guys think about those things?
I like a true tournament format better. Give me a winner versus winner and a consolation game as well.
That's kind of what I think too. That's kind of the tradition and kind of how it all has always been. But lately around here, I don't know how it is the rest of the state, but around here, these teams pretty much set up these mixers where you're guaranteed to play one team one night and the next team the next. And I think a lot of that has to do with the gate. And what I mean by that is they'll bring in a second local team, and they're trying to guarantee as much money coming through the gate as they can. So they don't want to match the two local teams if, say, they both win or if they both would happen to lose on the first night.
Well, Rick, we always enjoy hearing from you, and sorry we had to cut you short. I mean, we're just so backed up right now. I know you've got something to do as well right now, so definitely appreciate you taking time to talk with us tonight.
Well, hey, you guys be good.
All right, that's Rick Kozlowski of the Martinsburg Journal. We're going to stay here for one more call before we go to break. J.D. Rollins of the Beckley Register Herald, who's been very kind to wait on us and to stay on hold. And he had the Greater Beckley Christian Man game tonight, correct?
I did. That was the game I was at, and it was quite the experience. I have to say, Greater Beckley just kind of ran over Man from the beginning. So it was quite the game.
So we need, first, before we talk about that game, we need confirmation. Dave Barksdale in a suit tonight?
Dave Barksdale in a suit. That is apparently the situation for this season. I talked to Dave before the game and joked around with him, telling him he looked good, and he said he's trying to act like he's 70 and not like he's 30 anymore. So I'll tell you, as somebody that literally just turned 30 less than a week ago, Dave Barksdale had way more energy in his 60s and 70s than I do at 30. I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
It's amazing how we fall over the cliff right there about
30, it's all over from there.
Even LeBron fell over the cliff. He doesn't even play anymore. But
we're not going to talk about that.
But tell me about this Greater Beckley Christian team. There were some high expectations for it, and they've got to win over Capital this year. This is a ball club that's living up to them so far.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen Greater Beckley this year. They've kind of been one of the teams, along with the Wyoming County teams, I've really had a chance to follow in my last couple of years here with the Register Herald. And I'll tell you guys, they are a fantastic basketball team. I was speaking with somebody tonight that has seen quite a few basketball games, and they told me they're the best team they've seen so far this year in the state. I don't know if I'll go that far. I've only seen a handful of games this season, but Greater Beckley really proved a lot to me tonight. Man came in this game averaging 84 points and 84 points a game, and they were held to 52. So that in of itself says a lot about Greater Beckley's defense, but offensively they just have a ton of firepower. Elisha Kidd has been kind of the player that I've really enjoyed watching kind of develop. My first year at the paper, he was a sophomore. He was behind Javon Staunton-Bailey. He was behind Keith Mullins. He was just kind of this quiet, timid kid that could shoot the ball. And now he's become more vocal. He's become a leader. He had 23 points tonight. I think he maybe scored 2 in the first quarter, and he didn't play but maybe 30 seconds in the fourth quarter. So he's really come into his own. And a player, I'm calling it now, Isaiah Francis from Greater Beckley. We've been hearing a lot about him for a couple of years. The way he's developing, by the time he's a senior, I think he's one of the best players in the state. He tonight just proved to me, kind of proved me wrong in a lot of areas. He was explosive, probably one of the most explosive players I've seen in transition, especially this early in the season. He threw down 2 dunks tonight that, they were impressive. You don't see a lot of kids in our area throwing down dunks, especially the way that he did. They are a fun team to watch.
Greater Beckley Christian, the Crusaders, are 5-0. They'll play Taze Valley Christian tomorrow. Then next Friday, a big matchup in Naugatuck as they take on Tug Valley. Those are sectional rivals, correct?
They are. I'll tell you, obviously the big game in Southern West Virginia next weekend, next Friday is going to be Wyoming to West Side. If that's not the game that tickles your fancy and you have that appetite for adventure, make the trip to Naugatuck. It's not a fun, it's not an easy drive, I guess to say, but I saw, what was it, Tug Valley played tonight and only put up 44 points or whatever it was, and Greater Beckley puts up 96 tonight. That's no way indicative of how this game is going to go. If you've seen these two teams play the last couple of years, they battle. I mean, this is a fun rivalry that's developed over the last couple of seasons with Tug Valley dropping down to Class A. Greater Beckley, they want that game. I tweeted out a little bit ago, if Greater Beckley doesn't advance past the first round of the playoffs this year, around the tournament, so to say, then it's a disappointment because this is the most talented team I've seen them have so far. And beating Tug Valley is going to go a long way towards getting that confidence. But going to Naugatuck and playing is a tough environment. If you've ever been there, if you've been to a Tug Valley game, the fans are loud, the atmosphere is loud. It'll be a fun game. I tell you, I wish it wasn't so far away, so I would almost consider going to it.
When I was in high school, I played one game at Tug Valley and literally had the jersey ripped off of me during the game. It's a fun place to go.
They don't call them the Naugatuck Nightmares. It's that crowd. I tell you, when they played at Greater Beckley the last couple of years here, they played at the Armory, and I've sat on the same side as the Tug Valley fans. And man, so the Saints, I mean, they love their basketball and they love to talk too. So it's always a fun environment. I'm sure as Greater Beckley players and fans, you're probably looking forward to getting out of there by the time that one's over. But it's a fun environment.
One quick question before I let you go, because we were again backed up. But Greater Beckley Christian being not the main draw in the city, Woodrow Wilson always has been. With Dave Barksdale now, with the sustained success that they've had, are they developing their own following?
Yeah, definitely. Greater Beckley, I mean, like I said, is a Christian school. They're attached to their church there. The church is really involved in that school, and that community's kind of started to develop more and more and more. Greater Beckley has developed their own following. I tweeted out earlier tonight, and I was thinking about it after I talked to Barksdale. Nobody has benefited from Mountain State University closing except for Greater Beckley Christian School, because they were able to get Dave Barksdale, who was an assistant at MSU with Bob Bolin, as an assistant coach at Greater Beckley. And no doubt that's played a lot into them being able to develop the players that they have. The players that are coming over there, they have an option, when they're coming out of middle school, where they're going to go to school. They're going to Greater Beckley. They're learning the Dave Barksdale system from Dave Barksdale. And that's valuable. That's incredibly valuable to see and it's just this is my third year covering basketball in this area. Just to see where Greater Beckley has improved since then to now, and that was Barksdale's first year as an assistant coach. It's huge. So I'd say he's definitely gone a long way to help in that following. But yeah, they're definitely getting their own following. They're actually playing more games at the Armory this year. I think tonight was one of their only games they're playing at their home gym. So that rival, that's not a rivalry, so to speak. They don't play each other, but there's definitely the Woodrow fan base and the Greater Beckley fan base, and Greater Beckley fan base is definitely growing.
Well, J.D. Rollins, Beckley Register Herald, good to hear from you tonight, and let's try to make this an appointment for Friday nights, because it's good to talk high school basketball with you.
I think I might have a game next week you guys will be interested in. That little showdown down in Wyoming County. So get in touch.
Yeah, there might be some people who might be interested in that as well. Thanks so much, J.D.
Thanks, guys.
And I had to let him go there, but I got to say this too. He's an Ohio State fan. If I could have got he and coach from Fairmont Senior, Corey Hines, together, that would have been a good show right there to talk Big
Ryan,
Ten.
Before you go to break, the Naugatuck Nightmare didn't originate when you got your shirt ripped off the Naugatuck, did it?
No, I think that actually was I think that actually came after that. But perhaps that was a nightmare in Naugatuck for anyone who was in attendance.
Shots fired.
Yes, it was definitely a nightmare for me and then for anybody else who had to see it. Right now, we'll step aside and take a break. When we come back, is it time for Bo Anderson? It almost is. Yeah, our resident referee. We'll get some questions ready for him. As Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
A big thank you to all our new followers on Twitter. The Martinsburg Bulldogs, Andy Apple, Mark Bryce, Kyle Vertalk. Thanks for joining us at Hoops_Roundup, at Hoops_Roundup on Twitter. Well, we're now at 1,084 followers on Twitter. Our goal is 1,100. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll make sure to mention you on the show. Send in your scores, give us a tweet, and become part of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. A special thank you tonight to all the folks working behind the scenes at Marshall University and 88.1 FM WMUL Huntington. Thanks to faculty advisor Dr. Charles Bailey, sports director James Collier, engineer Mike Stanley, who we've driven absolutely crazy this year, the entire staff of WMUL for their facilities and support. Each Friday, our behind-the-scenes crew includes Braxton Cripps, Marcus Constantino, Trey Collier, they're there tonight, and also Nicholas Collier and Lance Likens are usually here, but they're out enjoying their holiday. We want to thank all of them for everything they do at Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Remember, if you're looking for a score, there's one place to go. It's basketballnight.com. Click on scoreboard. If you're looking for a score in West Virginia, we've got it. And if you've got a score, send it to us. You can send it to us in a variety of ways. Go to our website, basketballnight.com, and find out how you can send a score. Send it to us by Twitter, text, or email.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State, you're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, James Collier, Rudy Raines, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
It's 11:26 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. We're running about 10 minutes behind, but that's okay. We're going to run a little bit over our normal 11:30 slot, just to let you know as well. And that's because we have a caller that has been on hold now. If you combine the last two shows, he's been on hold for roughly an hour and a half. He's with us now, Bo Anderson, our resident referee. Yeah, that's right. Bo is with us. Bo, thanks for joining us, and hope you've enjoyed getting to listen to the program firsthand here tonight.
Well, I'm disappointed because it was only 36 minutes and 20 seconds. And I was really looking forward to that hour on my phone again. You guys timed. I want you to know that.
I was going to say, I hope you have an unlimited plan.
If you don't, you need to get one.
Well, yeah, you know what? Can I charge that to the station?
Yeah, we'll put it on your new paycheck. We'll just add a 0 to your contact information.
Hey, it's kind of like officiating. You don't get so much of that either.
Bo, again, thanks for joining us, and thanks for sticking around with us. And I'll open the floor up here to James to throw out the first question for our resident referee.
Nothing really stood out this week that was extravagant or anything, but one thing that I always think is a good one to revisit, because I have seen this several times already this season. The whole debacle about mid-court line, and especially when you have players that are taking the basketball out in the front court and they throw the basketball into the back court, and seemingly somehow there always is a player that ends up straddling that line. Take us through what is a backcourt violation and what is allowed in that position to not be a backcourt violation.
Okay, the one of the things on a throw-in, if you want to make it really easy, on a throw-in, the first person on the team to touch the basketball, while that person has the basketball, whether they're in the air or on the ground, for the first jump or the first step, you can allow to wipe that line out.
If a player jumps from the front court, catches the ball in the air, and lands in the back court on a throw-in now, that is a legal play. If a player jumps from the back court, catches the ball, and lands in the front court, that is a legal play. Now, what's not legal would be a player to jump in the air, catch the ball in the front court, and pass the ball to a teammate in the back court before landing. Now, that would be considered possession of the ball in the front court, and you'd have a backcourt violation. Now, straddling the line, things to remember on people in the air or players in the air. Easily, you are where you jump from until you touch. So if you are in the front court and you jump from the front court, you're in the front court until something touches in the back court. If you're in the back court, you jump in the air, you're in the back court until something touches the front court. And that's the same way with out of bounds versus inbounds. Now, a player who has control of the basketball can, while dribbling the ball, the catch is to know if the ball and both feet are in the front court. As long as one of the things, whether it's the ball being dribbled in the back court or 1 foot or both feet in the back court and the ball in the front court, on a dribble, the ball and both feet have to cross and touch in the front court in order for you to not be allowed to go in the back court. Other than that, you've got to, you still have a 10-second count going. People get that really confused, and they see people straddling the line, or they catch the ball with 1 foot in the back court and one in the front, and they step back to the back and back to the front and back to the back, and everybody's yelling. The fans has got their manuals out again. It's on page 1200 in their manual, so that's a backcourt violation. But, honestly, it's not. And, you have to understand the rule in order to understand the front court, back court scenario.
Okay, Bo, let me jump in real quick here. That's a really good explanation, because both feet and the ball have to be in the front court before you've established yourself. I want to move actually outside the play of the playing court, and when the ball's being inbounded from an out-of-bounds situation, there's a couple of things I don't think a lot of people are familiar with. One is the point of being stationary or being able to move, and the situation that allows you as an inbounder to either move along the end line or to have to stay put. And secondly, the fact that I believe you have a 3-foot area all the way back, I would assume all the way back to the wall. You can actually go back away from the line. You just can't move one way or another. Can you explain a little bit about the throw-in procedure?
Sure, that's another one that's not understood. Anytime there's a scored basket or an awarded basket, the team taking the ball out of bounds is allowed to run the end line. Now, that team retains running the end line if there even is a foul by the opposing team before they get the ball inbounds, or if there's a violation such as a kicking the ball violation by the defense. If the ball is going to be put back on the end line, they still retain the right to run the end line. Now, a designated spot, you have a 3-foot area, and the only requirement is to keep some part of one of your feet in that 3-foot area, okay, some part of your body. So you can step to the left, you can step to the right, you can jump up and down. The traveling rule is not in effect. You can run all the way up to the line. You can run as far back behind the line as is allowed. If there's 15 feet between the line and the wall, you can go all the way to the wall. You can do anything as long as you keep something in that 3-foot area. And people are screaming again for traveling or double dribble. There is no traveling rule, no double dribble rule, no rule of any kind. The thing is, you got to get the ball directly onto the court, inbounds, with the release before the official gets to 5 seconds. So there's a lot of misunderstood information on that as well. And, that's one where, as an official, that's why we say spot. That's why we don't say don't move, because if you couldn't move, you wouldn't be able to release the ball on the court. You'd be there froze. So, we say spot, and it's up to the coaches to teach that as a correct rule that they can actually step 1 foot outside and go and take and step the other foot as long as they keep a foot on or, above that 3 foot designated area.
Bo, I appreciate it. That really explains that. And I tell you, between that and drawing the charge with your back turned from last year, my eyes have been completely open. So I appreciate all your help with those.
Well, I've got plenty of them that you can, that people don't understand. You are where you jump from to you touch. That's the same way on out of bounds versus inbounds. And, you see a lot of times a lot of coaches and fans get excited when a player inbounds the ball and then jumps from out of bounds and gets a foot touching inbounds and catches the ball. And they don't think that that's legal. That's perfectly legal as long as nothing is touching out of bounds and you've got something touching inbounds. And another part of that rule is a player who's going to go save the basketball and they're running full speed ahead and they save the basketball and it goes inbounds and they fall out of bounds and then they come back inbounds and they're the first to touch it. That's a legal play as well. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And the only thing that's wrong with that is the guys in the pickup games that won't allow them to do it, or the fans manual gets on. That's page 600 of the fans manual, I think. But other than that, that's a legal play as well. So there's lots of odd plays out there that people really don't understand. And when you see an official not call it, and you start getting on to them about not calling it, there's a reason.
Well, Bo Anderson, always appreciate your insight and look forward to hearing from you again next week. I've got a question for you for next week. Now, I just have to write it down. That way I don't forget it between now and then. But I'll see if I can test your knowledge a little bit next week.
Well, okay, hopefully if I get online and I have to wait an hour, I won't forget what the answer is.
We hope not. Bo, thank you so much. That is our resident referee, Bo Anderson. And I got to say, after listening to Bo, you should see what Tulsa's girls' practices look like now with some of the things that they do, trying to circumvent the rules a little bit. Right now, we're going to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll hear from our Standout Athlete of the Week. You'll want to hear it. It's a familiar name in basketball in the Mountain State. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Congratulations to the Clay County Panthers, Gavin Nichols. Gavin was selected as the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week last week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Do you have an athlete you'd like to nominate? You can nominate them for Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week online by going to basketballnight.com. Each week we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the courts, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Go to basketballnight.com/Standout Athlete. Fill out the online form with your nomination and your explanation. Coming up, you'll find out who the Standout Athlete of the Week is this week on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. A shout out to all the folks following us on Twitter and our new followers, the Martinsburg Bulldogs, Andy Apple, Mark Price, Kyle Vertalk. Thanks for joining up to the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. Also, a shout out to Angie Mayhew, Hawks Nest, Josie, R Hunt the Boys, Key Player Nation, Examiner Sports, Coach Tim, CRHS Basketball, Independent Herald, Angelica, Angie Toller, TVHS Panthers, Dave Morrison, Buffalo High School, Andrea, Sean Run, Tribe Hoops, JB, FHS Loonies, T. Moore, and Ian Guerin.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, Rudy Raines, and Ryan Epling.
It's 11:38 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, and James Collier with you this evening. Happy to have you along. Earlier tonight, number 2 Notre Dame beat number 6 Clay Battelle in boys basketball 97-42. A big win for the Irish, and a big part of that and the resurgence of Notre Dame over the past couple of years is a young man who is this week's Standout Athlete of the Week, Jared West from Notre Dame High School in Clarksburg. Jared, congratulations and welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Thank you.
Very nice win tonight over Clay Battelle. That was a team that made it to the state semifinals a year ago in Class A. Just tell me about coming out and getting that win this evening.
Well, we've been struggling lately, and we needed a win to jumpstart our season. And today was a good win for the team. We played well together today, and I think it'll give us a big confidence boost for the rest of our season.
Jared, thanks for joining us here on the show. Kind of going through with all of our listeners, our viewers, about the Standout Athlete of the Week. This is something that comes nominated from someone outside of basketball Friday night, and it's a player that is doing good things on the court as well as off. The nomination for you this week, it talks about what you're doing this year, averaging 21 points a game, 2 steals, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, but a very studious kid, a 3.8 GPA, never acts up in class, always putting a smile on someone's face. He's a very prompt person during school as well as at practice, and we hear stuff like that, and that's the things that we're looking for. And more importantly, this is one of your own teammates that made this nomination. When you hear of something like that, tell me the feelings that brings to you of as you start in your sophomore season of trying to be the leader on that team and take this team back to Charleston.
Well, that makes me feel pretty good as a person and as a player, knowing that I've got people behind me that support me and things like that, and know what I've been doing, and that I've been raised that way to be like a good person on and off the court. And I'm glad that people are starting to recognize that.
Jared, any pressure because of your name? And your name is obviously one that is familiar to basketball fans in West Virginia. Your dad had a big shot a few years ago while he was at WVU in the NCAA tournament. So carrying that namesake, does that add any pressure to you, or is that something that maybe you've been able to kind of keep separate and just be yourself?
It's a little bit of pressure, but not a lot, because we're still different people. And I mean, like, I don't know, he coaches me, and I know that his name is out there, and so is mine, but it's not a lot of pressure to me.
At least it's a good memory, though, right? Everybody has of your dad.
Yeah.
Jared, how special was it last season? You're a frosh on this team. Your first time to go to Charleston and play in the state tournament, and you come up short, but you have your dad standing there on the sideline. And at what point do you have that boundary of, at some point it's coach, at other times it's dad?
Right. Well, I've learned last year a lot that he was my coach, and he was real hard on me. So, like, in practice and in games, he was my coach. After a game, like after a big win, like a state, after we beat Tucker County, he was my dad. After we lost to Charleston Catholic, he was my dad. He had to help me up. And so during the game, he's my coach. He's hard on me, and he's yelling and being supportive at the same time. So you got to find the happy medium between coach and dad.
Jared West of Notre Dame, our Standout Athlete of the Week. Congratulations on that, and that will be one of many honors that will likely head your way over the course of your basketball career, and we wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you.
All right, that's Jared West, Notre Dame High School. And I'll tell you, you can hear the maturity. That's a sophomore in high school right there.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I remember at the basketball tournament last year, and when I was doing the game, and I saw that he was a frosh, and I went, "There's no way that kid is playing so much above his time." And having the first opportunity to speak with him on the phone this afternoon, and now on the program tonight, as you mentioned, Ryan, you can tell he's way above his times, but he's definitely got some big shoes to fill, Coach Marone, with the presence of Daddy West standing on the sidelines.
Well, he's beyond his years in basketball, and you can tell mature young man, very deserving of the award, and great things ahead. Going to be fun to watch him.
His dad, probably the second most well-known West in the state of West Virginia when it comes to basketball, behind obviously Jerry West from Cabin Creek, but Jared West. We talked about the shot there before we go to break. March 15th, 1998. In Boise, Idaho, in the NCAA tournament, Jared West banked in a three to beat Bob Huggins and the Cincinnati Bearcats in the NCAA tournament. My, how things change over the course of about 17 years. And wow, that's been 17 years ago. That is hard to believe. But right now, we'll step aside and take a break. When we come back, we will get your final scoreboard update, and we'll hear from Fred Persinger II. Hey, the Woodrow Wilson Flying Eagles might be outperforming expectations, and when was the last time anyone could say that? Because expectations are always so high there. We'll talk about that when we come back and wrap things up here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Thanks again to all of our new Twitter followers tonight. Brandy Reese, Gary Ballard, Martinsburg Bulldogs, Andy Apple, Mark Price, and Kyle Vertalk. We appreciate you being part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. You can follow us too on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Send in your scores, give us a tweet, become part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. Congratulations to Jared West, our standout athlete of the week here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Go to basketballnight.com/standout athlete, fill out the online form, and nominate someone from your team. Thanks to our affiliates tonight: 106.7 FM WHFI in Linside, 101.9 FM WVOW in Logan, 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM WQAZLP Edmond, Beckley, 101.7 FM WYAPLP Clay, and 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington. You can listen online at basketballnight.com. You can watch it at basketballnight.com or rsnsports.com. You can also watch it if you're a cable subscriber on Armstrong Cable Channel 204 and Comcast Channel 25. If you love basketball, then there's no other place to be in West Virginia. You're supposed to be here. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Thanks for being part of the show.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, Rudy Raines, and Ryan Epling.
11:47 on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Hard to believe that we're time to start wrapping things up again. And
didn't we just start?
It seems that way. Hour number 3 is almost done. We're almost to a new day. We've still got a lot to do. So before we jump right in, James, one final check of our basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Looking for scores? Look no more. Go to basketballnight.com/scoreboard for all your scores from around the Mountain State. We'll finish up on the boys' side in Class AAA. The upset that starts things off. Number 8 Woodrow Wilson over number 3 Hurricane, 69-66. Brett Osborne 15 points. JT Rogaszewski 28 in the losing effort. It was number 10 Martinsburg over number 4 Washington, 70-55. Capital knocks off St. Albans, 63-45. Shady Spring over Lewis County, 53-46. Lincoln County over Buffalo, 59-46 in the Doddridge County New Year's Tournament. Winfield knocks off Princeton by 12, 62-50. Ferguson nets 15, Bellamy 25 in the win. In Class AA, number 2 Poca puts the dots on the Grizzlies out of Nicholas County, 79-32. 4 players in double figures for Poca. Number 7 Wyoming East with a 30-point win over Independence, 83-53. Number 10 Scott with the upset over number 8 Chapmanville, 55-51. It was Sissonville over Herbert Hoover, 68-52. Summers County defeats James Monroe, 74-60. Andrew Richmond, 21 points in the win. Liberty, Raleigh, and Pikeview was postponed. In Class Single A, Wheeling Central falls to Gill St. Bernard's out of Gladstone, New Jersey in the Cancer Research Classic, 72-47. Number 2 Notre Dame, no problem with the Seabees out of Clay Battelle, 97-42 for the Irish. Number 5 Greater Beckley Christian, a big win over the Man Hillbillies, 96-52. It was number 8 Tug Valley over Cross Lanes, 42-31. Pendleton County, a 2-point win over the Harmon Panthers, 49-47. Meadowbridge gets by Montcalm, 57-30. It was the Sherman Tides over the Van Bulldogs, 74-65. Williamstown, the Yellow Jackets sting the Silver Knights of Tyler Consolidated, 77-39. And Wahama, the White Falcons fly past the Doddridge County Bulldogs, 56-53. On the girls' side, number 1 Park South, no problem with Parkersburg, 72-40 victory for the Patriots. Caitlin Bird, 16 points, 9 rebounds. Taryn McCutcheon, checked at 14 points. Anna Hayton had a double-double. Number 10 Jefferson over Elkins, 67-39. It was John Marshall over Indian Creek out of Wintersville, Ohio, 58-53. Class AA, Kaiser victorious over Mountain Ridge, 48-33. Lexi Taylor with 20 points. Number 10 Nicholas County knocks off number 9 Westside, 57-37. Hope Lester left early with a hyperextended knee in that contest. Roane County victorious over Braxton County, 50-42. Greenbrier West, a 40-point win over Independence, 54-14. It was Oak Glen defeating East Liverpool, 58-45. Rounding things out in Class Single A, number 5 Williamstown over number 7 Parkersburg Catholic, 69-57. It was number 10 Trinity Christian over Moorfield, 78-43. Bridgeport, Ohio defeats Bishop Donahue, 59-51. It was the Montcalm Generals, a 3-point win over the Buffalo Bison, 38-35. Union defeats East Hardy, 55-46. Burdock, 41 of the 55-point for the Union Tigers. Gilmer County all over South Harrison, 75-21. Billsville, Ohio defeats the 100 Hornets, 63-50. St. Mary's knocks off Tigers Valley, 67-46. Cross Lanes victorious over Tug Valley, 44-19. And our final score on the basketball Friday night scoreboard update, Meigs, Ohio defeats the White Falcons of Wahama, 43-17.
Thank you very much, James. As one of those scores mentioned was Woodrow Wilson. The Flying Eagles boys team is now undefeated, 5-0 after the 69-66 win over Hurricane tonight. Fred Persinger II had the call of that one. Fred, Woodrow Wilson outperforming expectations maybe with a win over Huntington earlier this year, a nice win tonight over Hurricane. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think they're playing better than what a lot of people thought. When you look at what Beckley lost last year, the seniors that they lost, and then you throw in losing junior Naquan Carrington, who transferred to Winston-Salem Prep, there was a lot of holes that Beckley needed to fill. But they did have some talent returning, and Brent Osborne and Noah Hancock, Corey Aker taking over at the point guard position. But, Brent led them tonight with 15 points. But there was a couple of players or one player that did not play last year for Beckley, Steve Beasley, a 6'4" junior who scored 14 points tonight off the bench for Beckley that helped. So what's helped Beckley in these games early on has been a different guy every night, whether it's a Joe Quarius Harris, who didn't play last year. He's a junior this year. or, like I said, Steve Beasley. I mean, they've had different guys step up in every game this year for Beckley, and they're playing pretty well right now. They've definitely improved since what we saw in that first scrimmage against Wyoming East, and then when they went up to Morgantown and lost in that scrimmage. So the improvement is there, but still a lot of things they can work on to get better.
Well, that game tonight against Hurricane, 69-66 wins, we mentioned, that game came right down to the wire, free throw shooting at the end. Things were a little shaky. There were some missed free throws, there were some turnovers, but Woodrow was still able to get out with the win.
Yeah, and when you look at it for Beckley, I mean, for Beckley to come into the game tonight only shooting 53% from the free throw line, averaging 19 turnovers per game, and yet they're still undefeated. They have 22 turnovers tonight. They were only 7 of 13 from the free throw line, but yet they still win. And until Hurricane made a nice run at the end of the game, Beckley was up by 11 points. So Beckley's doing something right, but they've got to cut down to those turnovers. Free throw shooting has to improve, or it will cost them at some point this season. And Coach Kidd knows that, and they're working on it. Free throw shooting is getting better, but still a long way to go. And so, they've got a lot of things to work on. But, I mean, I tell you, tonight, you look at Hurricane and say, well, they're 2-4. Beckley should win this game, but they're 4 losses. When you look at who they've lost to now with Beckley, Capital, South Charleston, and Polka, I mean, I don't think it gets much tougher than that. Hurricane's a very good ball club. J.T. Rogacheski, I tell you, I would take him on just about any team in the state of West Virginia. He is an outstanding player. Scored 28 points tonight against Beckley. Hurricane's a lot better than that 2-4 record. So I think it was a great win for Beckley on the road tonight. This young team continues to grow and get better, and if they continue to do this, stay healthy, and improve where they need to, Beckley's going to be a tough out by the time the end of the season comes around.
Fred, with 2 wins over the teams that finished in the state finals last year with Huntington and Hurricane, what does that say about the potential for this Beckley team this season?
Well, I think it says that this Beckley team can be very good. I mean, when you look at this young team that's coming up, and I mean, they're relying on some young kids. Brenton Walton, a sophomore, came in and played well tonight when Beckley had some foul trouble. So they're definitely being led by seniors. Brent Osborne leading the way, and Noah Hancock, who had a big game against Huntington, scoring 22 points and 20 rebounds in that game. And, of course, Brent having 15 points tonight. Noah had 14 points tonight. So the seniors are leading them. But these young kids, whether it's a Malik Folks, who is a junior, we talked about Tariq Payne. He played last year as a freshman, just a sophomore. So a lot of young guys coming up and playing a game like this, playing Huntington, playing Hurricane on the road. This team is learning a lot. So I think it bodes well. Like I said, if they can stay healthy, this team could be very, very good by the end of the year. And you still got some tough games coming up for Beckley. They play St. Albans at home on Tuesday. Then we go back on the road next Thursday to play a very good Spring Valley team. And then we've got 2 more road games against Shady Spring and Winfield coming up before we play Capital, Logan, and Parkersburg. So, we got a tough stretch of games coming up. But this young team continues to play well and we stay healthy. I think Beckley could be a very, very tough out by the end of the year.
Fred, always a pleasure.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's Fred Persinger, the second voice of the Woodrow Wilson Flying Eagles, who are now 5-0. And guys, let's just tidy things up here. The poll question from last week, we asked, what is the better usage of the holiday break? Learn on the fly by winning or by playing in tournaments, or develop the team through practices during the break? It was almost an even split. 52% say learn on the fly by playing in tournaments. 49%, which that doesn't add up, you guys. That's 101%. But anyway, math, baby, math. But so learn on the fly ends up being the winner of the poll question. Now, Braxton in the back, you've got the poll question for this week.
Yeah, Ryan, our poll question for this week is the competition in Class AA boys this season better than in Class AAA? Simply yes, no, or is it too early to tell? You can vote on that until 11:45 next Friday night at basketballnight.com.
And Ryan, we just picked up a question off of our Twitter account, hoops_roundup. Be sure to follow us if you are not, please. Mel Stevens wants to know if he should stick with the pullover for games or go back to the jacket and tie. # state champs, # go Knights.
I think that's a good question. I think go with whatever makes you comfortable. Coach, you want to add it on that?
I'm with you. If it feels good, and if you win, you got to stay with it.
Hey, if it's not broke,
that's the
don't
only
fix
thing.
it.
If you win, you got to stay with it.
I think Coach Marone would show up in just about anything for a state tournament game.
Whatever
right
it
now.
takes.
Whatever it takes, absolutely. Guys, another fun show, another good week of basketball, and another big one coming up. Some big games tomorrow, too. I want to get these in before we go as we're wrapping things up here tomorrow. AAA, you've got Wheeling Park playing Newman Goretti out of Philadelphia in the Cancer Research Classic. AA boys, Fairmont Senior, North Marion. Should be a good game. Fairmont Senior's undefeated. Girls, you've got Logan and Morgantown are going to play again. You've got University and Greenbrier East, North Marion and Brook, Fairmont Senior, Sissonville, St. Joe, and Charleston Catholic. Big day of games
We'll
tomorrow.
have a lot to talk about next week.
Absolutely, we will. So, for everyone involved here at Basketball Friday Night, for the folks in the back behind the scenes, and for Rick Marone and James Collier, I'm Ryan Epling. Thanks for listening, and have another outstanding Friday night of basketball here in West Virginia.
Thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Tune in next Friday for the latest high school basketball action from across the Mountain State. Visit our website at basketballnight.com to find out how you can stay connected with us throughout the week. Until next time, have a great weekend, and thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. The preceding broadcast is a presentation of the Fast Break Sports Network. Copyright 2014. All rights reserved.